Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. Marvel. Meet Wanda and become the strongest saint. Chapter 61. Now Caecilius has no confidence at all, because Subai has become stronger again. If Caecilius was angry last time because he didn't take action, then Caecilius will definitely not take the initiative this time. With Dormammu's permission, Caecilius was able to constantly draw magic power from the Dark Dimension world, as well as the bonus of the energy matrix, so much so that when Subai came to Stonehenge for the first time, Caecilius felt arrogant in his heart. At that time, Caecilius felt that as long as he stood in the energy matrix, he could defeat Subai. If it were not to complete the task assigned by Dormammu, Caecilius would directly take action and completely obliterate Subai. But it turns out that Caecilius underestimated his enemy, or in other words, no one could have predicted how evil Subai was. In less than half a day, Subai's strength has been enhanced again. Who could have thought? At least Caecilius lost his mind after Subai took action. Now, he won't even think about leaving the energy matrix after completing the construction of the teleportation array. In the absence of any other powerful demons coming, only the energy matrix can give Caecilius a little sense of security. Look at the previously ferocious demon army. After Subai came, the lower demons were all crawling on the ground and trembling. The six-armed snake demon-like commander was also somewhat hesitant. There is nothing wrong with demons killing, but they are not mindless. On the contrary, they are the creatures that worship power the most. The powerful strength displayed by Subai made them feel scared. The situation on the battlefield was reversed instantly. After doing all this, Subai is still not satisfied. This is not because Subai is conceited. The reason why Subai redeemed the Heavenly Demon's submission is because the Heavenly Demon's submission originally possesses the attribute of conquering demons, and the power of the Heavenly Demon's submission is between that of Galaxy Starburst and Phoenix Wings Tianxiang. It can attack from a distance and close combat, but there is no Galaxy Starburst. The energy storage time and power are equally impressive. Subai just used it for the first time, and he only used the 6 powers of the completed version of Demon Subjugation. Fortunately, it has the effect of conquering demons, and can still kill him instantly with one move. It seems that there are still huge amounts of gap between the 6th sense and the 7th sense. But Subai didn't expect that he would bring such a big shock. Odin on Bifrost was a little confused when Subai appeared. He didn't know who Subai was. When Subai took action, his expression immediately changed. If Diana's appearance was an unexpected surprise, then Subai's appearance can only be described as a shock. Subai suddenly appeared, wearing a gorgeous armor that he had never seen before, and defeated 4 Balur Balrogs in one move. Odin can naturally do this, but as the God King, he will not drop the price like this and compare himself with Subai. What Odin is thinking about is whether his beloved son Thor can do it. I'm afraid that's not possible. After being shocked, Odin's eyes became curious. Who is this person? Odin turned his attention to Heldam. This Asgardian's eyes were the sharpest among the gods in the entire Nordic pantheon, and could even see through people's souls. The sudden appearance of Subai undoubtedly disrupted Odin's arrangement. Heldam looked at his origin. Heldam was also a little curious. 2 deep green lights suddenly shot out from his eyes, passing through the obstacles of time and space, passing through the thick clouds, and landed on Subai. At this moment, Subai's brows furrowed, and the small universe began to burn crazily almost instinctively. A pair of green eyes suddenly appeared in his consciousness. With a cold snort, Subai's mental energy concentrated into a ball, and the pair of eyes quickly died before they could even peek. Everything happened in an instant. Heldam on Bifrost looked surprised. He did not expect such a thing to happen at all. After groaning, he took 3 steps back. Odin was stunned by Heldam's performance and asked softly, "What exactly did you see? His origin is so amazing." Heldam shook his head and said bitterly, "I only saw the universe, a vast and boundless universe, a universe that is heading towards destruction." The surprise and curiosity in Odin's heart were even worse. Heldam rarely missed anything, and the sight he saw was so strange. The sudden appearance of Subai attracted all Odin's attention. Subai definitely felt that a certain being wanted to peek, but after integrating the ray of the origin of the world about war, Subai's small universe has undergone great changes. 0. All objects are in the process of birth and destruction. The two major laws in the origin of the world are birth and destruction. The only thing that transcends these two laws is eternity. When integrating the origin of war, Su-bai gradually realized that war is actually a branch of the law of destruction. No matter what form of war it is, it will eventually accelerate the process of destruction. It is because of understanding this essence that the stars in Su-bai's small universe have aged, collided, and comets have appeared. In Hyerdam's eyes, it is a universe that is heading towards destruction. If more time is used, Su-bai can further understand it, but in the current state, it has provided Su-bai with some new abilities. According to the initial calculation of the Wheel of Time, the time for Su-bai to wake up has to be postponed, but it is only a preliminary integration. When the magician and the devil in the holy place begin to fight, a steady stream of power will constantly converge on Su-bai. Let Su-bai absorb it. Su-bai just integrates the origin of the world. These gathered forces appear gray and black, which may be called the power of war. They are born in the war and are managed by the god of war. With enough war power, it can repair injuries, integrate into the body to enhance combat effectiveness, and can even be used as fuel for burning the small universe, which makes Su-bai particularly happy. It was precisely because of the large-scale battle between Holy Place Magician and the Devil that a large amount of war power was generated. After being absorbed by Su-bai, the process was greatly accelerated, and Diana and others were reluctant to fight hard. It is precisely because of this that it disrupted many people's arrangements. At the edge of the solar system, the battle between Dormammu and the Ancient One continues. Both Dormammu and Ancient One have some thoughts and are paying attention to the battlefield on Earth. At the level of the two of them, some things became clear to their minds. Whether victory or defeat could not be decided in a short time, it was the battlefield on Earth that was the key to this invasion. Is this the backup plan you left behind? Dormammu's voice was slightly hoarse. When his mind possessed Caecilius, he had met Su-bai at the holy place in London. At that time, Dormammu even wanted to thank Su-bai for a second, precisely because the appearance of Su-bai gave him the best opportunity to control Caecilius. Times have changed, and today, Su-bai has become the most critical factor in this war. Moreover, the power shown by Su-bai exceeds the current Caecilius. Ancient One also didn't expect it. To be honest, she had no impression of Su-bai before this. In Ancient One's expectation, it was the Aesir clan who would stand up to save the Earth. The Aesir Protoss were expelled from the Earth by the first Sorcerer Supreme. If the Aesir Protoss takes action, it will be a good opportunity to return to the Earth. At that time, the Aesir Protoss will be welcomed by all magicians as the saviors of the Earth, and the Ancient One will also take this opportunity to ease relations with the Aesir Protoss. Today's Aesir clan is no longer the same as they were thousands of years ago. While their divine power has grown, their technology has also risen to a new level, and their reputation is spread throughout the universe. This group of foreign gods who were expelled back then confirmed a classic saying, 30 years to the east of the river, 30 years to the west of the river. At the same time, it is in sharp contrast with the conservative native pantheon of the Earth. The native pantheon of the Earth is rarely willing to delve into science and technology. But Su-bai showed up. For a moment, Ancient One didn't know whether it was good or bad, how to answer. After all, if there were the guardians of the Aesir clan, the Earth would undoubtedly be much safer. Dormammu opposite the Ancient One snorted coldly, with another sneer on his face, and said softly, "It seems that your disciple is not that outstanding. He can't even deal with a boy of unknown origin, so I'd better help him." Bar. The Earth will be destroyed today. The flames on Dormammu burned even more fiercely, and he madly set up flag again. The demons beside Stonehenge raised their heads one after another and looked at the black gate in the night sky. Su-bai's small universe burned crazily. Driven by the power of war, it quickly reached its limit. Su-bai even felt that with the blessing of the power of war, it could maintain its limit state for a longer period of time. Unlike before, after releasing the galaxy starburst, there was always a period of immobility and inability to move. This time, it's not the devil. What pours out from the Black Gate is no longer a new demon, but a flood of dark power. These dark powers have become substantial, becoming thick and concentrated into water droplets, turning into a heavy black rain, and falling into the bodies of hundreds of thousands of demons. The demons who were originally intimidated by Subai all seemed to have been given a shot of chicken blood. Not only did their bodies swell by 3 points, but their eyes showed a fascinating craziness. They did not attack the magician, nor did they attack Subai and Diana. Instead, they scattered and surged in all directions. They want to bring destruction, and their target is living human beings, even at the cost of their lives. Affected by the sudden power of darkness, this has become their nature. At the same time, the black door in the night sky collapsed and turned into a shadow, and the black light pillar disappeared instantly. Caecilius, who was in the energy matrix, suddenly grabbed his neck with both hands and said dumbly, Dormammu, my master, you. The dark power absorbed from the dark dimension began to surge at that moment. It was not controlled by Caecilius at all. It continued to flow and crazily transformed the body for a second time. It was completely a change at the genetic level. Caecilius's figure swelled, and all his clothes were stretched out instantly. The long horns on his head were 2 meters long, and a pair of demon wings grew out of his back. His eyes were full of black mist, and his figure soared to Ju-Mi has become a real big devil. Subai, you can't stop the devil's actions. Caecilius turned into a demon body and roared madly. Thanks to Subai, he became a real demon. Those demons running around are enough to destroy this planet. Is it? Subai chuckled lightly. As he finished speaking, countless golden rays of light surged out from Subai's body. In an instant, the entire plane was enveloped in golden light. All the demons stopped, just because a piece of light appeared in front of them. A huge stone inscription. Countless huge stone inscriptions emerged, forming huge golden walls, which were stacked on top of each other to form a golden space that stretched endlessly. It was the most powerful secret of the Virgo Golden Saint, the Tianwu Baolun factory. The Tianwu Baolun is the ultimate secret of Virgo. It constructs a relatively independent space, which is called the perfect battle formation. Once the opponent is trapped in the Tianwu Baolun, he can neither attack nor escape. At the same time, this advantage can be used to deprive the opponent of the 5 sense functions in turn. Demons stimulated by the power of darkness covered the entire Thorsber plane. They were still in madness before, but at this moment, they were unable to even move the most basic way. This is a powerful spell that combines space and law. It can already be called a domain. Almost as soon as the Tianwu Baolun was constructed, Odin couldn't suppress the exclamation in his heart, and it was completely written on his face. For a god king who keeps his emotions to himself, this is already the highest compliment. Odin thought he had overestimated Subai's combat power before, but he didn't expect Subai to become a blockbuster again. Thinking of this, Odin said anxiously, "Where's Thor? Why haven't you come to Bifrost yet?" Hildum was stunned for a while before he said, "Thor is coming." After saying that, Hildum focused his attention on Subai again, and there were new changes in the Tianwu Baolun. The Tianwu Baolun is similar to covering space. It's like applying another layer of paint on the wall and dragging the opponent directly into it. For me now, without the support of the previous war power, it would be really difficult. Do it. Subai secretly thought in his heart, and a faint golden light appeared in his hand. This golden light turned into a golden lotus, blooming instantly, containing the full power of the demon's subjugation. Tens of thousands of demons, unable to resist at all, were wiped out by the golden light released by Subai. In the blink of an eye, everything disappeared. This blow completely made Diana, who had also entered the Tianwu Baolun, grin from ear to ear. Her eyes widened, as if she had returned to the first time she met Subai on the Paradise Island. Subai's body, again it was covered with a mysterious and powerful aura, and Diana had to be impressed. Not to mention those holy place magicians who were involved, it was really regarded as a mythical experience. The eyes looking at Subai were already full of admiration. After several consecutive attacks, Subai had amazing fighting ability, and the magicians at the holy place had to be impressed. When Caecilius saw this scene, the expression on his face became even more crazy, and his mind was twisted to the extreme. This distortion comes from an emotion called jealousy. Why did Subai get Merlin's support and kick him into dungeon as soon as he appeared? Why can Subai keep progressing and becoming stronger? He has obviously thrown himself into darkness and even transformed into a devil, but he still can't reach Subai's current height. Even Dormammu specially transferred power to him, but it became difficult to move. After entering the Tianwu Baolun, Caecilius couldn't even feel the existence of the energy matrix. At this moment, under the combination of anger, Caecilius finally lost his mind, and his body swelled again, reaching a height of 10 meters. Perhaps even Caecilius didn't know that in the deepest part of his soul, there was actually a trace of yearning for the light, and the emotion called jealousy finally swallowed up that last emotion. The dark evil power runs more smoothly in the body. Caecilius' figure suddenly leaps high and resumes action. Driven by instinct, Caecilius must tear Subo into pieces. He exuded a dark aura, and there was dark red energy flowing on the demon wings behind him. During the impact, his hands formed a pair of blood-red giant claws, and his combat power had entered the strongest state. Su Bai frowned, faced Caecilius's final madness, and whispered softly, 5 senses deprivation. In Tianwu Baolun, every time Su Bai uses 5 sense deprivation, he can randomly take away the ability of one of the opponent's senses. Caecilius felt a pain in his forehead and flew backwards. The world in front of him instantly became dark. He thought he had entered another world. He stood up and used magic to test, only to discover a terrifying fact: he couldn't see. Su Bai deprived him of his vision. Without waiting for Caecilius's reaction, Su Bai's golden light shone again, 5 senses deprivation. Deprive yourself of hearing. Deprive yourself of your sense of smell. Deprive your sense of taste. Deprived of touch. Golden light kept piercing Caecilius' body, and everyone who was paying attention to this battle was in a state of astonishment. This can no longer be called a battle, but a one-sided killing. Caecilius still has no power to fight back. The figure of Su Bai has been slowly carved out on the huge golden wall. She is sitting on the futon with her eyes closed. At this moment, everyone realized that Su Bai was the absolute master of the Tianwu Baolun, and this was the absolute space that belonged to Su Bai. Su Bai has long been the most critical leader in this battle of demonic invasion. Deprived of his 5 senses, Caecilius completely lost the ability to resist. Soon, even the ability to think at the end disappeared. Su Bai didn't hold back, the golden light in his hand shone, and he fired a strike to surrender the demon. The golden light pierced Caecilius's body, and he paused for a second. With an expression of extreme unwillingness, he fell down, and his body instantly turned into ashes. Caecilius, the former disciple of the Ancient One, an arrogant magic genius, and finally fell into the arms of Dormammu, turned into a ball of black ashes and completely disappeared from the world. Congratulations, Master, for defeating Caecilius and gaining 20,000 redemption points. This scene was an iconic scene, a scene full of honor. The culprit who opened the teleportation channel died, and the one who killed him was none other than Su Bai. Immediately afterwards, Su Bai stared at the still huge demon army, and the golden light in his hand kept shining, turning into a thin golden thread. Every time the demon surrenders, tens of thousands of demons disappear. During this process, the holy place magicians in the Tianwu Baolun all looked at Su Bai with excitement and admiration. As a witness to the entire battle, there is no doubt that Su Bai has become a real hero in their minds. It was Su Bai who saved the earth. What would this world be like without Su Bai? The holy place magicians dare not imagine. They have paid the price of blood and tears, proving the power of this demon army. Su Bai, on the other hand, easily eliminated their difficult opponent. Groups of demons died, and the magicians became more and more excited. Even Diana felt the same way. At this moment, Diana looked at Su Bai with tenderness in her eyes. In the second half of the battle, Diana wanted to help several times, but all of them were easily resolved by Su Bai. The entire battle was completely controlled by Su Bai, just as Diana believed before. Su Bai will always be the most solid backer. Diana had a vague understanding, and gradually understood why she wanted to protect the earth. This was her home, and she had obligations and responsibilities to resist the invasion of foreign enemies. When there was no demon that could stand up, Su Bai cancelled the heavenly dance wheel, and the golden boulders disappeared invisible. The sky turned fish belly white, and a ray of morning light scattered on the earth, which was exactly like a sunrise scene. The holy place magicians understood what it meant to survive the disaster, and they were so excited that they couldn't bear it any longer and burst into excited cheers and shouts. Some of them thanked the gods, some thanked Subai, some thanked the magic, and some of them quietly shed tears. There are only less than 100 magicians still standing on the plain. Compared with the 1,000-member magician group at the beginning of the battle, they undoubtedly look a little bleak. In order to defend the earth, they also paid a heavy price. But the result was good. Under the leadership of Subai, they succeeded. Subai, you are a hero. Amidst the cheers of Holy Place Magician, Subai slowly fell from the air and immediately felt a figure throwing into his arms. Diana was very excited, her face flushed, and she hugged Subai tightly. Subai, I'm really proud of you. This time, it was you who saved the earth. As described in the legendary epic, whether it was defeating Rec or Caecilius, you did it all. You became the hero who saved the world, haha. The more Diana talked, the more excited she became, with pride on her face, as if she was Subai. Having accomplished all this, their eyes met, Diana showed a bright smile, and couldn't help but kiss Subai's cheek. After a brief contact, Subai felt a moist and hot feeling on her cheeks, which quickly disappeared. Diana actually took the initiative to kiss her. Subai was slightly surprised. She didn't expect this little tsundere to be so proactive, but she couldn't help but feel her heart flutter. Diana put her hands behind her back and her face became even redder. She took a step back playfully and coughed pretentiously, as if she wanted to be praised. Definitely, the great hero Subai is also indispensable for the Paradise Island full of power and wisdom. Princess, Diana's full help. Subai nodded with a smile, held her chin, and said seriously, I really want to thank the powerful Princess Diana. Diana immediately realized that Subai was trying to undermine her lack of intelligence. She curled her lips and punched Subai on the shoulder. Can't you speak properly? Subai immediately rolled her eyes. Okay, let's use gems to pay the bill, step on my shoes when practicing dancing, and eat steak with scissors. Princess Diana is the smartest and wisest, okay. You ask for a beating. Diana waved her fist. Unexpectedly, Subai told her all the embarrassing things. When she was about to punch Subai again, she suddenly stopped. She looked up at the sky, frowning slightly, and a powerful energy filled with the power of thunder suddenly descended on Ju. A giant colorful beam of light fell down and struck the scorched earth. It was full of thunder power and attracted everyone's attention. Before the figure walked out of the colorful light beam, Holy Place Magician had already put away his smile and was on full alert. Diana was no exception, staring at the figure in it with eagerness. Only Subai felt that the long-lasting colorful light beam in front of him looked very familiar, like a legendary Bifrost energy that could be transmitted across the planet. Subai couldn't help but secretly thought, people from the Esir clan. Sure enough, a sturdy figure quickly walked out of the beam of light. He had blonde hair, a firm face, and a fighting spirit in his eyes. He was wearing a silver-white battle armor, with a red cape behind him, and in his right hand, holds a warhammer that sparkles with lightning. Son of Odin, God Thor. Subai had the answer in his mind immediately, but he didn't know why Thor appeared next to Stonehenge at this time. He couldn't help but recall the feeling of being spied on just now, and his thoughts turned quickly, and he guessed a rough idea. The Esir clan of the Nordic god system was also paying attention to this battle, and he had attracted the attention of the Esir clan. That kind of being the sense of spying probably comes from Bifrost's Asgardian, hired him. After all, the only one who knew Thor's identity at the scene was Subai, who had just experienced the demonic invasion. No one dared to let their guard down, and for a while, the atmosphere was extremely tense. Many magicians secretly gathered their magic power, and Diana even put her hand on the god-killing sword. When she saw Thor, she felt inexplicably troubled and wanted to drive Thor away. This is not surprising. If it is two clear streams, they can naturally converge, but when two thunderbolts meet, they will only explode. The son of Odin, originally Thor, the Asgardian and successor of Asgard. It is no exaggeration to say that Thor is the top second-generation god in the solar system. He is also originally brave and good at fighting, and his reputation spreads throughout the galaxy. Equally famous for his bad habits and temper. Subai didn't want to talk to this famous younger brother, especially when Thor hadn't been well educated by Odin. Thor, who was teleported, looked around and was also in a daze. Where's the devil? Thor had just returned from the battle, and suddenly received a message from Heldam, saying that Midgard was invaded by demons and needed support, so he said goodbye to the banquet dare to come to support in a hurry. At that time, Heldam's tone was quite urgent, and he specifically pointed out that it was a large-scale invasion, and there were high-level demonic creatures like the Balur Balrog. When they arrived at the battlefield, if Heldam hadn't been so serious, he would have suspected it was a prank. Where are the tens of thousands of demons? Where is Lord Balur? He only enjoyed it for 2 more minutes, so why are there only a bunch of Midgardians left here staring at each other? I can't blame the others, I can only blame Subai for showing such destructive power, it's so powerful. Almost all the demons killed by Subai were crushed into tiny particles. When blown by the wind, everything dissipated. Diana's lightning strike was also very powerful, and all the contamination turned into ashes. Subai and Diana alone accounted for most of the demon army they killed. There are probably only a few thousand demon corpses left here and there on the entire plane, all of which are low level and were killed by Holy Place magician's spells. Where's the devil? This time, Thor asked the Midgardian in his eyes, with a hint of arrogance in his tone. To be honest, he had not been close to Midgard for hundreds of years, and he did not want to. Nego. Compared with Asgard, Midgard is simply synonymous with a remote place. Coupled with his identity, he naturally has such a sense of superiority. No magician is willing to answer this embarrassing question. Some people are even madly complaining, "Brother, what are you doing here? Carrying a hammer to kill demons? What a coincidence, so am I." However, the demon army was eliminated by Subai. You are on your way. Then the air seemed a little quiet, but at this time, a spiked demon that was not completely dead was staggering, trying to stand up and crawl towards the center of both sides. A magician raised his eyebrows, and the mana condensed in his hand turned into an ice arrow, hitting the spiked demon. After a weak scream, the bone eviscerate demon collapsed completely, and the atmosphere became even more awkward. Feeling Thor's eyes, the magician turned his head in embarrassment and said softly, "Oh, I'm sorry, I would have left it if I had known better." You took action. Thor was completely speechless, and Sophia, as the representative of the Magician Association, came forward to contact him. The demon army that invaded the Earth has been eliminated. Also, who are you? Thor did not answer Sophia's question immediately, but looked unbelieving and said in surprise, "The demon army has been wiped out." Impossible. Impossible. Thor, who has been fighting for many years and has keen intuition, came to this conclusion after a little observation. Although the Midgardians wearing robes in front of them have certain combat abilities, they are absolutely no match for the demon army, let alone Lord Balur. The Balur Balrog is not worth mentioning to Thor. He can almost hit him one by one. The Balur Balrog Lord is different. He can skillfully use large energy spells and has strong physical strength. Even if Thor takes action, he still has to spend a lot of money, a little time. And these Midgardians in front of us, will they be the opponents of Lord Balur? Or is it not that exaggerated, just a small-scale invasion? Thor shifted his gaze and decided to take a closer look, and immediately discovered 2 differences, Diana and Subai. Even in Asgard, Diana can be the most beautiful being. What worries Thor even more is that as soon as he looks at Diana, he has a feeling of panic. And Diana's eyes were definitely not friendly. As for Subai, the gorgeous holy clothes are enough to attract attention, and Thor can't see the depth of Subai. Judging from Subai's expression, he doesn't care at all about the arrival of the son of the God King. Perhaps this woman defeated the demon army. Thor was more optimistic about Diana and had such a guess in his mind, but still asked, "The demon army has been defeated. Which one of you can do it?" As soon as these words came out, everyone focused their attention on Subai. The one who did all this, definitely Subai, this hero saved the Earth. Subai felt the adoring gazes of everyone and Thor's slightly doubtful inspection, and couldn't help but said, "The people on Earth have done it, what's wrong?" Subai's current strength is at the late stage of the 6th sense, which is infinitely close to the 7th sense. In addition, Saint Seiya is unique in destructive power and has 2 golden mysteries. Even if he doesn't know Thor's current strength, he doesn't know it at all. Shoo, his tone will naturally not be as cautious as other Aesir gods. This Thor is far more arrogant than Bai believed. Diana was already a little unhappy, and at the same time stepped forward and said, we have our heroes, maybe before you question others, you should introduce yourself well. Thor was suddenly pulled over to fight, and he was already a little short-tempered. After a conversation, he felt deflated and felt a little angry. Fortunately, at this time, the colorful light beam not far behind him teleported down several figures again. When I came out, I saw 3 men and 1 woman. The bearded one in the lead said, "We are the Aesir tribe who settled in Asgard. This is Thor, the beloved son of the Aesir god King Odin." The 3 men and 1 woman who walked out were none other than Thor's 4 best friends. But as soon as the words, Aesir, were spoken, the holy place magicians immediately went crazy, condensing their remaining mana and exuding a fighting spirit. Sophia whispered to Subai, "The Aesir Protoss is a group of aliens in the solar system. They once came to settle on the earth and left behind the Norse mythology. However, thousands of years ago, they were expelled by the first Sorcerer Supreme himself. I didn't expect that they would be here. Return to Earth at this time. These are all written in the Chronicles of the Magician Association, and are items that every holy place magician must remember. For holy place, the Aesir Protoss are like enemies but not friends, and they definitely need to be guarded against, even though the Aesir Protoss may be more powerful than ever before." Sophia whispered again. "Moreover, the Aesir Protoss' motive for going to Earth is unknown. It is very likely that they have other plans behind the scenes under the pretext of helping to snipe demons. After all, Thor came too late. If he wanted to be the savior, it would be too unprofessional." In such an awkward and tense atmosphere, in the middle area between Subai and Thor, 5 golden space doors of different file sizes suddenly appeared. 5 great magicians walked out of them, led by the Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One in yellow robes. The other magicians present were stunned for a moment, and then most of them showed expressions of excitement, almost unable to help shouting. Definitely, some of them had relatively dull expressions. They didn't know the inside story, and they were a little disappointed with the big magicians who didn't appear in this battle. Feeling the vast mana coming from the Ancient One and the Chief Magician, Thor and his friends also looked wary. Some suspected whether they were being plotted, and secretly said, "It's impossible, this is the message sent by Hildum." A trace of caution flashed in Thor's eyes, but he decided to step forward to negotiate. He took 2 steps forward, and before he could speak, he saw the Ancient One turn around. The Ancient One turned his back to the son of Odin, and then walked towards Subai with a smile on his face. It patted Subai's shoulder with admiration and praised, "You did a great job this time. You are the most promising genius I have seen in the past 200 years. In this action to resist the demon invasion, you are the most important, thank you for protecting the earth." The words of the Ancient One were not just a simple compliment to Subai, but they were also meant for Thor and Odin. The Supreme Magician turned his back to Thor and praised Subai. Such a small gesture showed her mood and attitude at the moment. She is extremely disgusted with what the Aesir did during this demonic invasion. In the opinion of Ancient One, this is the best time for the Magician Association on Earth to reconcile with the Aesir Protoss. When the transmission channel has just opened, the Aesir Protoss can take action and easily nip the danger in the cradle. But God King Odin has not taken any action. With Caecilius's betrayal, he allowed the demon army to fight the holy place magician, just to reap the benefits. If the Aesir gods really set foot on the earth again, they will inevitably have conflicts with the Magician Association, and even have fierce conflicts. Now there is a chance to weaken the Magician Association. Island is better. How could the Ancient One not know what God King Odin had in mind? The initiative lies in the hands of the Aesir Protoss. She originally wanted to take this hidden loss, but she did not expect that Subai appeared and quickly resolved this disaster. On the contrary, the Aesir Protoss fell into complete passivity. Neither Odin nor the Ancient One expected Subai. Odin did not expect that he would be tricked by his beloved son Thor. As the God King, it was naturally impossible for him to personally solve this invasion. Thor's late arrival was too embarrassing. On the contrary, it is as if the Aesir Protoss violated the agreement of the year and set foot on the earth again. Seeing this scene, Odin, who disappeared from the Bifrost, couldn't help but secretly sighed, "Thor, you really need to practice." Facing the smiling face of the Ancient One, Subai was not as happy as others imagined. He looked over the Ancient One's shoulder and clearly saw Thor's slightly angry face. After all, as the son of the God King, this was the first time Thor was so unpopular. What made him even more uncomfortable was that Su-bai, whom he was not optimistic about at the beginning, was actually the protagonist who defeated the demon army. Coupled with the praise from Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One, Thor was dissatisfied. It was only then that the Ancient One glanced at Thor and his group and said, "Sophia, take the guests of the Aesir clan to one side and have a good rest." Sophia bowed slightly, and before she could step forward, Ancient One surged with an extremely powerful force. The blue energy spread in the form of ripples. The Sorcerer Supreme had no reservations. The palm of his hand was aimed at the energy matrix in Stonehenge. "Are you going to seal the energy matrix?" With this scene in his eyes, Su-bai's previous doubts came to mind again. It's not surprising that Caecilius knew the existence of the energy matrix, but how did he break the defensive formation and how did he learn how to use the energy matrix? It was Merlin who set up the defensive formation in the first place. Su-bai looked at Merlin in front of him and took a step forward. Before Su-bai could say anything, Merlin sighed slightly and said, "First, on the entire earth, the only ones who can break this defensive circle are the Chief Magician and the Sorcerer Supreme. Maybe Dormammu can crack it, but he definitely doesn't know how to exploit it." Merlin had such self-confidence, so the range was extremely small. Su-bai's mind was racing, and several conjectures popped up in his mind. What if the defensive array had been cracked before? Someone had already used the energy matrix, and Caecilius happened to be there at that time and saw everything. Even Caecilius had used the energy array himself. Quote, "No matter what kind of conjecture it is, the finger points are all pointed at the Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One." Su-bai took the Aesir Protoss into consideration, and coupled with some of his previous insights into the Ancient One, he gradually came up with a frightening answer. Does the Ancient One really not know that Caecilius studies black magic? In Su-bai's memory, both the Ancient One and later Doctor Strange actually practiced black magic, and they were quite accomplished. Caecilius' indifferent attitude is also very suspicious. The Ancient One has long known Caecilius' secret actions. Not only did she not stop this talented disciple, but she regarded Caecilius as the best material for studying black magic, because the two were of the same origin. And the Greek god, after the system fell apart, new Protoss was needed to fill in and maintain the general balance. The Aesir Protoss undoubtedly became the best choice. Use Caecilius as a chess piece, as an excuse for the return of the Aesir Protoss. At the same time, use Caecilius to study black magic. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is to study Dormammu. A cold light flashed in Su-bai's eyes. He didn't know the truth of the matter, and it was impossible to know it now. But guessing like this, it's not surprising that Caecilius knew everything about the energy matrix. He was just designed by the Ancient One to move forward step by step until he reached the endpoint marked for him by the Ancient One. Caecilius was killed by Su-bai himself, but the insider speculation cast a shadow over Su-bai. Su-bai looked at Merlin. It was Merlin who revealed the key information that allowed Su-bai to complete the last piece of the puzzle. Did Merlin already know all this? Who can say for sure? This undoubtedly makes Su-bai feel nervous. Only by desperately improving his strength can he prevent a fate similar to Caecilius's. Su-bai is really short of time, and his combat power has improved too quickly, so his foundation is naturally a little unstable. Although he has the help of the Wheel of Time, he needs to complete his understanding and experience by himself. Daily accumulation often becomes the key. Just as Su-bai was thinking, the energy gathered in Ancient One's hand reached a peak. It can be seen that in the process of sealing the energy matrix, the Ancient One wanted to show the strength of the Sorcerer Supreme in front of the Aesir Protoss. The energy on her left hand quickly outlined a golden magic circle, which contained various complicated runes, like the principle of the universe. It expanded and actually covered half of the sky. Su-bai came back to his senses and looked at the scene in front of him with a calm face. He has long been aware of the Ancient One and knows that those who can be called the Sorcerer Supreme are those who stand at the top of the magic system. However, Thor and his friends were indeed shocked by the powerful magic power exuded by the Ancient One. Even the god King Odin had never exuded such majestic power. This undoubtedly refreshed their understanding of Sorcerer Supreme. The golden magic circle slowly tilted, covering the entire Stonehenge, and then integrated into the land. The entire ground began to tremble violently. After about 10 seconds, the golden magic circle disappeared invisible, as if nothing had happened. After completing all this, the Ancient One made an inviting gesture to Subai and Thor, and at the same time smiled at Diana, Aja. Ancient One waved his hand, and a large golden portal appeared in front of him. He could see the scene on the other side of the door, which was the completely destroyed holy place in London. Thor was hesitation. No matter how reckless he was, he knew he couldn't just step into the Ancient One's portal. This was not Asgard. Feeling the majestic magic just now, he knew that he would not be the opponent of the Ancient One. At this moment, Odin's voice suddenly appeared in Thor's mind. After a pause of 2 seconds, Thor took his own steps and glanced at Subai in surprise, but said nothing more. Holy place in London was built 400 years ago. It was one of the earliest holy places built. It contained countless precious classics. It is a pity to destroy it. Stepping into the portal, the voice of Ancient One came slowly. At some point, a necklace that looked like an eyeball suddenly appeared in front of her. Holding it in her hand, it emitted a faint green energy. Subai's pupils shrank slightly, and he immediately said secretly in his heart, "Eye of Agamotto." The Eye of Agamotto is the artifact used by Doctor Strange to defeat Dormammu. It is essentially the time gem in Infinite Gems, which can rewind or accelerate the running of time and has many powerful effects. At this moment, Ancient One took out the Eye of Agamotto, seemingly to use time backtracking to repair the holy place in London. Subai then thought about it. The space gem, one of the infinite gems, which is the Tesseract, does not have a long period of time. Is time in Odin's vault? Is it a game with Odin? Demonstration? Or simply wants to use time gem to repair London's holy place? And the Tesseract is still in Odin's hands. Subai remembers that Red Skull discovered Tesseract from a small town in Norway during the middle of World War II. There were few records of Tesseract before. It's such a headache. It's so tiring to be with people like Ancient One. Subai pouted. Ancient One has been in a high position for a long time, and every decision has deep meaning. Subai simply doesn't bother to guess. With sufficient strength, everything is naturally clear. This time, the mana gathered in the Ancient One was even more powerful. The original holy place in London was shrouded in huge amounts of emerald green light, and the surrounding time and space began to distort and tear apart. Reshape. The powerful energy impact makes people unable to open their eyes. Bricks and tiles, books and magic weapons appeared out of thin air from the emerald green light, and they quickly built what a London holy place should look like. It was like a magical scene that shocked people and made them feel it personally. Subai was amazed by the power of infinite gems. Within a moment, a brand new London holy place appeared in front of us. Even the magic circle was exactly the same. From the outside, it looked like an ordinary building, but there was something else going on inside. After doing all this, Ancient One looked at the sky again. The magic power on his body continued to spread, and soon there was a heavy rain. Ordinary people will lose their memories of the past 2 days after being caught in the rain. They will not remember what happened. Definitely, in such a huge London with a population of 5 million, there must be some people who have slipped through the net. Some witnesses have even gone to the other side of the British Channel. Take refuge. That doesn't matter. Holy place has close ties with the governments of various European countries, and the rest can be solved politically. The Ancient One's magic power is indeed powerful. After doing all this, she looked at Merlin. The two nodded to each other, and a large golden portal appeared behind the Ancient One. "Dear guest of Asgard, please come with me." Thor was not surprised at all by the Ancient One's invitation. The information just passed by Odin included new negotiations with the Ancient One. "I am afraid that the relationship between the Aesir Protoss and the Magician Association is about to enter a new chapter." But before leaving, Ancient One suddenly turned around and said to Subai with a smile, "Subai, I will definitely invite you to Kamar Taj next time." Kamar Taj is located at the foot of the Himalayas and is the place where the Ancient One practiced magic. Everyone's eyes were once again focused on Subai, full of envy. Everyone can see that the Sorcerer Supreme is very fond of Subai, and has never heard of the Ancient One inviting people outside the Magician Association to enter the holy place of Kamar Taj. It is the true holy land of magicians, where the most precious magic books are stored. Subai secretly thought something bad. This guy Ancient One isn't planning on me, is he? With the lessons learned from Caecilius, Subai decided to stay away from the Ancient One before he became truly powerful. Without waiting for Subai to answer, Ancient One entered the portal, and Thor, who was following behind, glanced at Subai again before following closely. The Ancient One left, and the chief magicians of the other 3 holy places followed suit. Soon, there were less than 20 people left in front of the holy place in London, including Subai and Diana, 2 members of the Magician Association. Non-staff personnel. Merlin sighed and said softly, "Subai, Diana, you two, don't leave in a hurry. I have something to discuss with you." Subai agreed and walked into London's holy place with Mei Lin. Compared with the initial bustle of people, it was indeed a bit desolate, and it felt like things were different and people were different. It was the last time in the study, but there was one more Sophia. Merlin sat on the chair and said softly, 400 years ago, the total number of magicians on the earth was less than 20. But at that time, everyone a magician is not as weak as he is now. After the Ancient One established the Magician Association, the number of magicians on the earth began to increase rapidly, but there were very few people with amazing talents. Magician means ability. Subai nodded with deep understanding, and looked at the later Doctor Strange, who was almost synonymous with ability. Under the guidance of the Ancient One, he soon became the Earth's Sorcerer Supreme. Compared with Doctor Strange, the average magician is really I want to die from anger. Unexpectedly, Merlin changed the subject and suddenly said, "Subai, are you willing to become the chief magician of the holy place in London?" When these words were spoken, not only Diana and Sophia were stunned in place, but even Subai, the person involved, did not turn around at once. But the expression on Merlin's face was very serious, not joking at all. In fact, when the Magician Association was first established, Merlin had a debate with Ancient One about whether the Magician Association should follow the elite route or recruit ordinary people and cultivate more magicians. The two were at loggerheads, but in the end the Ancient One gained more support, and the number of magicians began to grow explosively. To this day, in this battle of demonic invasion, it has been proved that more magicians are not always better. As one of the oldest magicians on earth, to be honest, when Merlin saw the holy place magician's performance against the devil, his mood could only be described as wo shang. In Merlin's heart, those weak spellcasters cannot be called magicians at all. If it hadn't been for Subai's appearance, I'm afraid the magicians from the 4 holy places would not have been able to defeat the demon army if they united. This is why Caecilius was chosen, magician. Round 1s require ability. Magician does not need collectivism, but should be a representative of heroism. Subai, you have ability, responsibility, determination, the ability to stand alone, bravery, and no fear of the dark. You have all the elements to become a great magician. If you join London Holy Place, you will be the chief magician of London Holy Place. Speaking of this, Merlin thought of the end of this war again. Although Dormammu chose to retreat temporarily after the death of Caecilius, from the moment Dormammu tore up the agreement and launched an invasion, the earth became unsafe again. A demon may come at any time. Merlin desperately wants to find someone who can protect the earth, not the Aesir, but a responsible hero. Subai is undoubtedly the best candidate. But Subai didn't think so. Confirming that he was not joking, Subai ignored Merlin's expectant eyes and said firmly and decisively, "No way." This time, Sophia was really dumbfounded. She almost wondered if she was dreaming or hallucinating. The great magician of Merlin first invited Subai to be the chief magician. This was surprising enough. What was even more shocking was that Subai also chose to refuse. Does he really know what sect the chief magician represents? Sophia's brain short-circuited twice in a short period of time. Merlin's proposal to make Subai the chief magician was surprising enough, but Subai really refused. Does Subai know what the chief magician of Holy Place stands for? It is no exaggeration to say that while the Sorcerer Supreme and the chief magician are protecting the earth, they are also the 5 most powerful people on the earth. Under the influence of the Sorcerer Supreme, the Magician Association has a transcendent status among all the forces on the earth. As one of the leaders of the Magician Association, the resources that can be used are extremely amazing. But Subai actually chose to refuse without any hesitation. Sophia couldn't help shouting in her heart, "What's wrong with this world?" Subai definitely cannot accept it. The most urgent thing now is to improve my strength. No matter it is Dormammu, Ancient One, or even Odin, I can't deal with it. Being the chief magician at this time is asking for trouble, isn't it? Quote. In addition, Subai is very self-aware. Because he defeated Caecilius and blocked the demon army, everyone always thinks that Subai's image is particularly tall. Only Subai knows clearly, this is just a personal grudge. The relationship between Subai and Caecilius is very simple, they just hate each other. Ever since Caecilius used the mirror space to besiege Subai, the relationship between the two has become a mortal enemy. Subai rarely thinks about big things like saving the earth. He doesn't object to the saying, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility, but he doesn't agree with it either. What's more, in the world of American comics, there are so many people with ability, because there is no need to top the tank yourself. Just because Subai didn't fight Caecilius, Caecilius would definitely bite him back, so Subai spent all the redemption points without hesitation and chose to take action with all his strength. Definitely, such behavior would not mean anything in the eyes of others, because they were right, Subai was indeed protecting the earth. Rejecting Merlin's proposal, Subai didn't even want any other reasons, and simply said, I will not become a magician, and I have no interest in taking on the responsibility of the chief magician. Merlin chuckled and shook his head. From the beginning, he was not very sure about convincing Subai in one go. However, Subai gave the answer so quickly, which still surprised Merlin, is the title of chief magician of Holy Place already so unattractive? Because of Subai's refusal, the atmosphere became a little awkward. Merlin immediately changed the subject. It doesn't matter if you refuse now. You can think about it again when you go back. But you must be careful recently, because Dormammu will invade again at any time. By the way, here there is a copy of my magic handbook, you can take it back and read it. Merlin waved his left hand, and a white crack appeared on his side. It was a storage space formed by using space magic. He took it out casually, and a light blue code appeared in his hand. There is energy flowing like running water on the surface of this code, and it is 30 centimeters thick. At first glance, it looks like an extremely precious magic book. When Merlin took out this code, Sophia's eyes widened. She could say with great confidence that Merlin's magic code is definitely the best space magic code on Earth. If it contained Merlin's comments and insights, that value is even more immeasurable. You actually decided to hand over such a valuable thing to buy. Merlin said with great relief. Subai, I have been paying attention to your battles. The space spell you used at Stonehenge was very powerful. Don't underestimate your magician ability. This code is like me to you. Thank you very much for successfully protecting the Earth this time. Merlin regarded the Tianwu Baolun, released by Subai as a powerful space spell. Subai didn't explain much. He naturally accepted this magic manual. The Tianwu Baolun can indeed be regarded as the secret of the space system. Stones from other mountains can be used to attack Jade, and you may be able to gain unexpected gains. Merlin finally breathed a sigh of relief, but there was still a glimmer of hope left. At the same time, on the Champs-Élysées in Paris, France, a graceful lady with beautiful purple hair, exuding irresistible charm, walked through the crowd, breaking breath. Got countless looks. This lady walked into a jewelry store. There were no other customers in the store. The owner of the shop was a handsome man about 30 years old. The moment the lady walked in, her eyes suddenly turned gray-black and she said, he let out a sarcastic laugh, ha 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 ha, look at our goddess of strife, Eris, looking so weak as never before, she actually disguised herself as an ordinary woman. This lady was none other than Eris, who barely escaped that day. Her expression did not change, but everyone could clearly hear the hatred in her voice. Subai and Diana. Loki, the thunder you want has been lost. It's in the hands of Subai and Diana. The thunder you want has fallen into the hands of Diana and Subai, and the godhead of the god of war has also been taken away by them. When she said this, Eris was full of resentment. During the fight, even her most important artifact, the golden apple, was greatly damaged. The gain outweighed the loss. She already had deep hatred in her heart, but she was not Subai's opponent, could only swallow his broken teeth. Thinking of this, Eris turned her gaze to the opposite side. Loki, one of the divine sons of the Aesir clan, had descended into this body. Subai, I've never heard of this name before. As for thunder, your aunt probably got it, ha 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 ha. Unlike Thor, Loki immediately paid attention to the previous invasion. Moreover, this son of God with superb magical power never liked to abide by the rules. He often sent his thoughts into the mortal body to explore the land under his feet. After all, there are many valuable secrets hidden on the earth. For example, the scepter of God King Zeus, thunder. It is said that those who hold thunder can control the power of the thunder and lightning. However, the god King Zeus disappeared during the war between gods 100 years ago, and thunder fell into the hands of Ares. So, Loki and Eris, two beings from different pantheons, decided to make an ulterior deal. Eris was ridiculed again, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth, and he said softly, "Let me guess, your brother, the famous Thor, it probably won't take long to become the one appointed by Odin. You are the heir, although you don't have much chance in the first place, but as soon as Odin opens his mouth, there is really no hope at all. Those who possess the scepter of Zeus can control thunder and lightning. With thunder, your invincible brother can only beg for mercy in front of you." Eris's tone suddenly became bewitching. "Just think, with your brother at your feet, all of Asgard will cheer for you, and you, under the guidance of Odin, will be crowned king." Loki laughed loudly, and it was clear that he was very satisfied with the scene described by Eris, but soon, Loki's laughter stopped abruptly. "Eris, I remember your godhead, it should be strife. Quote, you were using thunder from the very beginning in an attempt to provoke a dispute between me and Thor, and at the moment you wanted me to join in to help you deal with Subai and Diana. Why, has your divine power declined to this extent? Or is this your nature, constantly stirring up strife? You are truly a lunatic. It was you who led the Greek pantheon to destruction and killed your father with your own hands." After being exposed by Loki, Eris was not angry at all. Indeed, as Loki said, her divinity is different from that of the god of war, and she can continuously absorb divine power during the process of destruction. Instead, it is more of a cause and effect relationship. Eris used thunder as an introduction to provoke the dispute between Loki and Thor, which is planting the cause. The more spectacular the confrontation between the two, the greater the impact. When one of them loses, it will also when the fruit matures, Eris will be able to harvest more abundant divine power. But during the course of the incident, Eris's magical power was unsustainable. In the process of confronting Subai and Diana, Eris had already consumed more than half of the magical power accumulated throughout the year. Now being pointed out by Loki, Eris did not panic because she had already expected that the two brothers would have a fight. Instead, a smile appeared on her face. "Loki, since you don't want to deal with Subai and Diana, why not give me the Tesseract, and I will help you take back the thunder." It turns out that the bait thrown by Loki was a Tesseract. Eris really needs the Tesseract. 100 years ago, the divine war of the Greek pantheon nearly destroyed the entire Olympus. After the divine war, powerful space turbulence enveloped the entire Olympus. Only those with powerful space energy could the Tesseract can allow Eris to enter Olympus again. There, buried are the treasures of the entire Greek pantheon. Loki snorted coldly and smiled to himself. The Tesseract was indeed once in the hands of the Aesir Protoss, but that was only in the past 1597. Loki had no idea about the whereabouts of the Tesseract. He just wanted thunder. He secretly thought in his heart, Thor carries the secret order of Father God. The Aesir Protoss will negotiate with the Magician Association. From now on, they can come in an open and honest manner, but there is no need to cooperate with Eris. Loki thought this in his mind, but still said, "Only if you get the thunder, I will take out the Tesseract." After the words fell, Loki's descending will retreated, and the possessed body gradually regained consciousness. The gray mist in his eyes disappeared and he became an ordinary mortal again. Eris cursed secretly. She also had a secret she didn't tell Loki. Thunder can indeed control thunder and lightning, but only the most noble bloodline in the Greek pantheon can exert its power. The two plotted against each other, but they couldn't decide the winner. Eris thought of Subai again, and a ruthless look flashed in his heart. He walked out of the jewelry store and disappeared quickly into the crowd. Subai returned to Leeds Castle from Holy Place in London and began to think about how to improve her strength. Today's Earth is described as turbulent, and this is just the beginning. In the future, more powerful beings, such as mutants, will appear, which can even threaten the universe. If you don't want to become a third-rate character and protect yourself by looking at other people's faces, you can only become stronger quickly. Su-bai is racing against time. The small universe has entered the late stage of the sixth sense, which requires time to settle and will be difficult to break through in a short period of time. On the contrary, the magic handbook sent by Merlin is indeed useful. It can improve Su-bai's fighting ability and is worth learning by Su-bai. After absorbing Diana's divine blood, the Phoenix Saint Cloth has become close to the Golden Saint Cloth. From behind, you can see it clearly by the golden wings stretched out. But how to take this step is crucial. Get familiar with an perfect fighting ability, and at the same time upgrade the Phoenix Saint Cloth to the level of the Golden Saint Cloth. Su-bai set a goal in mind and began to think in his mind, if you want to evolve the quality of the Holy Cloth, you need the divine blood of a powerful god. Although the Phoenix Holy Cloth has the function of autonomous evolution, it is too slow. Su-bai focused his attention on the exchange list of the Wheel of Time. He now has 20,000 exchange points, which is not enough to exchange for divine blood, nor enough to directly exchange for the Golden Holy Cloak. However, Su-bai found another way and discovered the Holy Cloak Alchemy, this one entry. Saint Cloth Alchemy. In the world of Saint Seiya, Athena instructed the alchemists of Mu Continent to invent the forbidden forging technique, which can make mythical materials into holy clothes, including but not limited to bronze, silver, and gold holy clothes. It can repair the holy cloth and be able to evolve the holy cloth. Original price is 40,000 redemption points, sold at 50% discount, current price is 20,000 redemption points. When he first saw the alchemy of holy clothes, Su-bai was definitely excited, but he quickly calmed down and cursed in his heart, MMP. Holy cloth alchemy seems to be a shortcut and cheap, but Su-bai checked the materials needed to create the golden holy cloth, and realized that this is a trap. Orichalcum, a metal that can only be used by gods. Its image is like crystal. It is the hardest metal in the world. The sword made of it has a body that is harder than any metal in the world and a sharp edge. One swing can split the sky and split the earth, and it is one of the 3 materials needed to make and evolve the holy cloth. 1 orichalcum sold by the Wheel of Time can produce 1 gold holy garment, 5 silver holy garments, and 10 bronze holy garments. Each copy sells for 100,000 points. If you sell it at a 50% discount, you can get 50% off. Exclamation mark quote. Gamanyan, a thing that only exists in legends, one of the 3 materials required to create and evolve the holy cloth. Each copy is sold for 100,000 points, sold at a 50% discount, and the current price is 50,000 points. Silver star sand, one of the 3 materials required to make the holy cloth. It is also the main material when repairing the holy cloth. It can be collected among the stars. Each copy sells for 100,000 points. It is sold at a 50% discount. The current price is 50,000 points. Quote. This set of materials for making the Golden Saint clothes actually requires 150,000 points. Including the alchemy of the holy clothes, a full 170,000 points are needed. And that's even at a 50% discount. A black shop, a completely black shop. Under Su-bai's complaints, the Wheel of Time spoke in embarrassment. Master, in fact, it only takes half of the materials to evolve the current Phoenix Saint cloth into a gold quality main species. Su-bai sneered. Half portion, haha, do you think I can afford half portion? Master, actually, these 3 materials can be collected by yourself. For example, orichalcum can be replaced by vibranium, galaxy sand can be collected in the universe, and gamanium is a must for every pantheon of gods in alchemy. Prepare materials. If the owner is willing to collect them by himself, that would be the best. Oh, Su-bai came up with the words and felt that there was hope of creating a golden holy cloth. At least the source of vibranium was known to Su-bai clearly. Vibranium is the most stable, resistant substance in the Marvel universe. Most of it is in Africa and belongs to a small African country called Wakanda. This small country is also the hometown of the superhero, Black Panther. It is not too difficult to collect. You can even leave right away and go to Wakanda. As soon as Su-bai had this thought in her mind, she was brought back to reality by Diana's voice. Jiao Hao. Diana's footsteps stopped in the corridor and she knocked on the door. Subai, those Asgard aliens are planning to come to visit. Do we want to receive them? When she opened the door, Diana held a paper crane made of light dots in her hand. It was news from Holy Place in London. Thor and others asked about Subai's address and planned to come to visit. Holy Place informed Subai in advance. As soon as her voice fell, a force of thunder rippled not far away. I guess Thor has arrived, is it so soon? Subai pouted. He definitely knew that his relationship with Thor was definitely not good. If he said it was a visit, he might have other intentions. Walking out of the castle, Thor was suspended in the air with the power of thunder surging all over his body. The Mjolnir in his hand kept spinning. No matter who looked at it, he looked like he was going to stir up trouble. This is also true. Subai, I heard that you defeated the demon army alone. Are you still one of the most outstanding geniuses of this era? Thor's tone contained arrogance, but more importantly, he was unhappy. As early as on the battlefield, Thor was holding back his anger. All the magicians ignored him, focused on Subai, and used Subai to belittle him. A noble Asgardian, the son of Odin, was actually compared to an earthling, and was even compared to him. This was the opinion of ordinary magicians, and Thor could not take it to heart. However, the actions of the Ancient One and other chief magicians later made Thor really unconvinced. Ignore, still ignore. With Subai here, he will always be the center of attention. Thor even felt his dignity was insulted. Moreover, after negotiating with the Ancient One just now, Odin appeared in person and told Thor and his team to maintain a good relationship with Suyu and Diana. At the same time, he greatly praised Subai and asked Thor to run errands to invite Subai and Diana to the grand ceremony after Asgard. You actually asked me to please Subai. Thor didn't get along with Subai in the first place. Thor didn't even want to do this kind of thing of putting a hot face on a cold butt, which completely set off his temper. He just wanted to see whether Subai, who was highly touted by the Magician Association, was as powerful as the legend said. Before Thor could take action, 4 other Asgardians followed closely, and the only beautiful girl among them shouted, Thor, stop, have you forgotten what you came to do? Thor turned back and said seriously, Sif, you should know that Asgard never welcomes the weak and those without courage. It turns out that this person is Thor's childhood sweetheart and future wife, Sif. But even Sif's words of persuasion could not stop Thor's determination to test. He wanted to prove that Subai was not as powerful as he was touted to be. Subai, there is no way he can resist Mjolnir. Thor let out a roar, and Mjolnir pointed directly at Super. Endless thunder power gathered, and under the darkening sky, he jumped forward without hesitation, aimed at Subai and smashed away. Subai snorted coldly. She had long felt that Thor at this period was difficult to get along with, and she was still wondering why he suddenly came to visit. It turned out that he was looking for trouble. I don't know where Thor was stimulated. But now that he has taken action, Subai will stay with him until the end. The holy cloth of the phoenix immediately appeared on the body surface, and the shadow of the fire phoenix appeared behind him. The small universe burned to the maximum in an instant, and a powerful pressure spread. The entire space was shaken, and the shockwave visible to the naked eye spread rapidly, which angered Diana. He shouted with slight dissatisfaction, Subai, if you destroy the castle, I will make you look good. I just planted tulips on the second-floor balcony last week, so be careful. Diana is not worried about Subai at all, she just trusts this man she can rely on. But Sif is different, she has no idea why Diana is so confident. The weapon in Thor's hand, Mjolnir, is one of the most powerful weapons in Asgard. On the other hand, Subai actually wanted to fight Thor with fists. Sif really wanted to shout, Thor, just use 5 points of force. No, 3 points. She was really nervous to the extreme, and she had already begun to scold Thor for being reckless. As the noble son of the God King, why should he fight for such a false reputation? Moreover, Subai had just defended the earth and was called a hero. If Subai was injured so easily, where would the Magician Association's face go? Where would the Earth's people's face go? This was just after the negotiation. On time. Why can't Thor think clearly about the stakes involved? Hill couldn't wait to rush forward and push Subai away. But what was different from what Hill thought was that the red light in Subai's hand condensed to its peak in an instant. After breaking through to the late stage of the sixth sense, Subai used phoenix wings for the first time when the small universe was burning to the limit. With a punch, the phoenix shadow rose into the sky. The powerful impact directly caused the ground to sink. Countless gravels flew up and quickly turned into powder. With Subai as the center of the circle, a hurricane was set off, tearing apart surrounding everything. Thor, who was bombarded from midair, had a drastic change in his face the moment Subai punched him. An extremely powerful impact force collided with Mjolnir, like two atomic bombs colliding in the air and exploding, forming a brief vacuum state. During the stalemate, beads of sweat broke out on Thor's forehead, his eyes widened, and his whole body was in a tense state. He never thought that Subai could completely resist his blow. And carried out an amazing counterattack. Chapter 71. Two powerful forces met in midair, and the turbulence formed an oval-shaped impact zone. Thor did not intend to punch Subai, but it was so powerful. Veins popped up on Thor's forehead and arms. His hands that took out Mjolnir were trembling slightly. I can't hold on any longer. He actually couldn't hold on any longer. The impact contained in Subai's phoenix wing flying to the sky seemed to be endless, and it wiped away all of Thor's vigor in one go. Thor opened his mouth to roar, but he couldn't make any sound. After staying in the air for 2 seconds, he was finally blown away by Feng Yi Tianxiang. His tall and burly figure was like a piece of paper, being rotated by the strong wind, as if it was constantly spinning. Huge rocks hit me, I was so depressed that I wanted to go crazy. He steeled himself, seized a good opportunity, turned around reluctantly, and used the force to smash back. If he didn't break away from the core of the collision, he even doubted whether he would be coaxed out of the atmosphere. This scene fell into the eyes of Sif, and in the eyes of the other 3 Asgardians, they all became petrified. What did they see? Don't say that Thor held back. They all know that Thor will definitely use all his power in the end. This is a blow with all his strength. Facing this invincible blow, Subai did not dodge and punched directly. Easily defeat Thor with one punch. Impossible, this is definitely a dream. An illusion. Could it be an illusion imposed by some chief magician? Subai's opponent is Thor. Thor from the Aesir clan. Thor is famous for his strength. Sif thought that Subai would be injured in this attack and would embarrass the Magician Association on Earth, but it turns out that she was really wrong. Now, she prayed that Thor would not be injured, otherwise it would be too embarrassing. Think about it, the body of the Aesir Protoss innocently provokes the heroes who protect the Earth, and then loses in one move. Sif almost rushed to believe this fact. Why is Subai really so strong? Aren't there only those chief magician and sorcerer supreme who are ridiculously powerful beings on Earth? Why is there such an extra Subai? These Asgardians, who have just seen Subai's power, underestimate Subai. When he landed, Thor's hair was messy, his armor was covered in dust, and his arms were still shaking slightly. There was no trace of the noble arrogance of the divine son of God before. Soon, Subai's phoenix wings waved upwards, causing strong air currents to clash, alternating between hot and cold. Under the sun, it suddenly began to rain heavily, making Thor even more desolate. Thor panted violently, and it took him a long time to come back to his senses. He squatted on the ground, raised his head, the shock on his face had not dissipated, and his pupils were filled with disbelief. Focusing on Subai, Thor finally said, "You are very strong." With this hammer, Thor did not exert the power of thunder and lightning, he simply gathered all his strength together and struck out with one hammer. Not many of Asgard's Protoss could take this blow, let alone counterattack. Subai still simply fights back with strength. Thor couldn't believe what kind of monster he had encountered. He retained the blood of Odin, but he was a descendant of giants and was famous for his strength. In a pure duel of strength, he actually lost to Subai. Thor was not a person who couldn't afford to lose, but the cold reality dispelled the anger in his heart, sobering him up and acknowledging Subai's power. But after that, Thor felt that his face was dull and he was embarrassed to raise his head. He kept blaming himself for being reckless and careless. He didn't come back to his senses until Sif's urgent voice sounded from behind. "Thor, are you okay?" Thor stood up unsteadily and whispered, "I'm fine." In the turbulence of the conflict, Thor's body was constantly hit and impacted, and the pain was extremely painful. Fortunately, He was a god, and there were no energy-based attacks, so it only took a moment to recover. This time, the 5 Asgardians looked at Subai with a hint of respect. The people of Asgard are inherently martial, and this incident was caused by Thor's anger. He was too reckless and did not do the right thing, but they can still distinguish right from wrong. And having defeated Thor in the strength competition, Subai was enough to gain their respect. Even after witnessing the entire process, Diana couldn't help but be surprised and asked secretly, "Subai, how strong are you now? Didn't you knock that hammer out of control?" Subai shook his head. He didn't know the specific value, but he only felt that his strength was unprecedentedly abundant. Because he has integrated the origin of the world of power, his pure strength is already astonishing, and with the bonus of the small universe and saint fighting ability that are good at destruction, it is difficult to calculate in tons when he breaks through to the late stage of the sixth sense. Subai secretly thought in his heart, perhaps it is really like in the myth, using a small planet to measure the mountain. Subai's extraordinary strength made Thor suffer a big loss. Compared with when he came, Thor's arrogance was weakened and he felt a little embarrassed. After all, he was the one who made the first move and then was educated by Subai, which was a bit embarrassing. And when he realized it later, he felt a little annoyed. Being reckless and aggressive was already his old habit. When he did it again, he could always think of Odin's sighing face, which made him feel very uncomfortable. In this gap, the other 3 male warriors also introduced themselves one after another. They are all the second-generation gods of Asgard. However, compared to Thor, they are not as famous as 313. Subai also has no impression. At least in terms of attitude, these Asgardians have finally become friendly. Subai chuckled in his heart, feeling that the retaliation just now had an effect, and asked again, "Then what is the purpose of your visit?" from Sif's words. Subai vaguely heard that they had other intentions. The others looked at Thor, who took out a golden sign from his pocket, with a big tree carved on the front and an Ouroboros on the back, and solemnly said, 2 months from now is Asgard's once-in-a-decade event. During the festival, God King Odin would like to invite you two to Asgard to celebrate the birth of Buli, the ancestor god of the Aesir clan. At the same time, the voice of the Wheel of Time sounded in Subai's mind, "Congratulations, Master, for triggering the mission, visit Asgard. Mission goal: gain the respect of the Asgardians. Task reward: 30,000 redemption points. Does the Master accept the mission?" Subai did not choose to accept it immediately. She felt that this time was far from being as simple as imagined. Visiting Asgard, or was Odin personally inviting? Subai knew that he was now receiving attention from all forces, but it had not reached the level where Odin personally ordered an invitation. You must know that Asgard is the residence of the Aesir clan, and no outsiders have ever entered. There should be some ulterior motives hidden in it, perhaps for himself or perhaps for Diana. Subai couldn't help but look at Diana, and found that Diana was also looking at him and nodded slightly, which should mean she agreed with the invitation. Before that, I would like to ask if the Aesir Protoss has a collection of metal called gominium, or a metal called silver star sand. Thor was a little confused about the nature of Subai's casting net, or Sif behind him reacted quickly, recalled a little, and said, "These two are precious materials for alchemy, right? Silver star sand is in Asgard. There are many in the treasury, but the inventory of Garmanion is relatively small. Is Mr. Subai still an alchemist?" Subai's eyes lit up, and he had the feeling that he could find it without any effort, and he said, "To be honest, I have been collecting these two precious metals recently." In this case, Sif is happy to give some as a small apology for the recklessness of the Asgardians. Sif breathed a sigh of relief in her heart, and her brows finally relaxed. She was afraid that due to Thor's impulsiveness, Subai would hug Asgard. There is hostility, and there is no room for relaxation. Fortunately, Subai is not a saint, but she still wants something, and it is within the scope of what she can accept. Subai smiled and took over the task of the Wheel of Time. At the same time, he took the golden sign from Thor's hand. As long as the energy is poured out of it, a signal will be sent out. Bifrost will lower the energy channel and lead the two of them to Asgard. This time, there will be no interruptions. After the words fell, Thor didn't pause for a moment. He swung Mjolnir in his hand and disappeared from the spot. After all, he still felt that this confrontation with Subai was too embarrassing, and it was not even an even match. Coupled with the conflict between his and Diana's thunder power, he felt uncomfortable and didn't want to stay any longer. On the contrary, Sif felt like cleaning up Thor's mess, and she said a few more polite words to make Subai have a good impression of her, so she chose to say goodbye. When the Asgard people completely disappeared into the sky, Subai asked, "Is there any reason why you accepted it so quickly?" Diana spread her hands and explained, "It is the general trend for the Aesir Protoss to return to Earth. Either we leave the Earth, otherwise, we will definitely come into contact with the Aesir Protoss. This is a great opportunity." Subai smiled and nodded. It seemed that Diana was already familiar with the outside world, and asked again, "Then you are not afraid of trouble before the idea comes to you?" Asgardians can't imagine an army of demons. Diana curled her lips, her eyes suddenly lit up, as if she had thought of something, and said, "Subai, I want the Amazons on Paradise Island to get in touch with this society, what do you think?" Subai, I want the Amazons on Paradise Island to get in touch with this society, and at least send a few more Amazons out to do activities. We also need helpers. Look, we don't even have a servant in our castle. Some trivial matters, too. You can't do it in person all the time. What do you think? Subai raised his hands in agreement with Diana's proposal. When he first got Leeds Castle, Subai dispersed all the servants in the castle because he didn't want the place where he lived to be messed up by intelligence agents from various forces. If they were Amazons who came out of Paradise Island, there would be no problem with trust. Subai thought for a moment and said, "Then when will you go to Paradise Island again?" "It just so happens that I also have a plan to go to Africa." "Hee, I can go back to Paradise Island alone this time. I will leave in a week. You can also wait until I come back before taking action." A smile bloomed on Diana's face. "I really want to tell the residents of Paradise Island quickly that Ares has been wiped out by us. I'm afraid it's a bit unbelievable, haha." Seeing Diana's excited look, Subai smiled and nodded, saying, "That's fine, we will act separately this time." In the next week, Subai spent most of his time practicing and getting familiar with the power of the microcosm in the late sixth sense. At the same time, a major event happened in the entire world. Germany finally chose to surrender. On the day when peace arrived, the whole of London was in a state of excitement. Everyone cheered and celebrated in the streets. In front of the gate of Buckingham Palace, Subai, Merlin and Diana sat together with the Queen and Prime Minister of England. On the row of chairs, a photo was left to witness history. At the moment Subai recirculated the power of war in his body and found that the power of war that could be absorbed was relatively small. In the next 10 years, large-scale sinks would rarely occur around the world. However, things are so unpredictable. Just when Diana set off to return to the Paradise Island, and Subai was making final preparations to go to Wakanda, Africa, a Chinese man Subai had never expected came to the door. "Your Excellency, Gu Weijin, it's an honor to meet the Duke." The Chinese man standing in front of Subai talking eloquently had a handsome face and a tall figure. Subai had seen him before, but only in textbooks. Gu Weijin was one of the most outstanding diplomats in modern Chinese history. He refused to sign at the Paris Peace Conference, argued for China's sovereignty issues, and made contributions to safeguarding the rights and interests of the Chinese nation. Gu Weijin didn't know where he learned that there was such a duke with Chinese blood, so he came to his door. To be honest, China was one of the victors in World War I. We, the Chinese people, suffered many unfair treatments at the Paris Peace Conference. We were unable to defend ourselves and wanted to ask the Duke to come forward. To be honest, Subai was quite helpless and had a strange feeling in her heart. Finally, she used her current status to write a long letter and ask Gu Weijin to hand it over to the British Prime Minister. Under Subai's operation, China achieved huge amounts of diplomatic success at the Paris Peace Conference of World War I, and Gu Weijin became a famous diplomat and received a lot of praise. But what Subai didn't expect was that on the night when Gu Weijin was about to return to his hometown, a figure quietly emerged from the night sky and entered Gu Weijin's room. This figure was so faint that Gu Weijin, who was busy writing under the lamp, didn't notice it at all. He only heard a squeak, and found that the window suddenly opened and a brown envelope fell on the ground. Gu Weijin was confused. He was writing about this trip to Europe, focusing on depicting the great image of Su-bai, so that he could return to China for propaganda. When did the window open? Gu Weijin stood up and picked up the envelope on the ground, and found that the signature on the back was Su-bai. He couldn't help but be surprised. He closed the window, made sure no one was there, and opened the envelope. There was only a thin piece of paper inside, which said, "The weapon of the 197 kingdoms." Below it was a long list of extremely complicated formulas, which Gu Weijin couldn't understand at all. But the weapon of the country, and Su-bai forced Gu Weijin to carefully put away the note. The silhouette of the figure hidden in the shadows finally emerged. It was the silhouette of Eris, the goddess of strife. The formula written on the paper is a body-strengthening potion converted from a magic potion, which can greatly improve the physical fitness of ordinary people. Su-bai, ha 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 ha, what will you do when China becomes stronger and even becomes the initiator of war? Will you still take action to maintain world peace? Or will you wait and see what happens? When China is besieged by other heroes, will you stand on the opposite side of others? Ha 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 ha. There was a cold smile on Eris's face. Su-bai, who was about to rush to Africa, still didn't know that because of him, China in this world had embarked on a unique road to prosperity. After entering the late stage of the sixth sense, Su-bai can already move at a speed close to the speed of light. For Su-bai, the distance between London and Africa is not a big deal. The reason for preparation in advance is that Wakanda is a strange country. Wakanda is located in northeastern Africa. Until now, no country has established diplomatic relations with Wakanda. Wakanda has never welcomed outsiders. It has a population of less than 1 million, but a territory of 50,000 square kilometers. It has never engaged in foreign wars. It has never been invaded. If we didn't know about Wakanda from other sources, it would be too difficult to find this country in the long history. It is almost as if it is transparent and never attracts anyone's attention. In modern times, it even frequently disappears into the records. In this mysterious country, there is the most precious metal resource, vibranium. Moreover, in Su-bai's memory, Wakanda also possesses many high technologies, which at any time far exceeded the world's level at the same time. Although vibranium is the most precious metal resource, it does not have the function of improving the technology tree. This is a bit strange. After completely stabilizing the current state of the small universe and reading through Merlin's magic book, Su-bai was ready to go to Wakanda. I saw a light red light disappearing from above London, but within 2 breaths, a red light appeared in the sky above the Sahara Desert in the northeast of the African continent. Su-bai was clearly in Wakanda. Looking down from an altitude of 3,000 meters, he could only see a vast desert. It should have used high-tech camouflage technology to deceive the human eye and prevent high-altitude detection. This is quite similar to the barrier on Paradise Island, but it is the power of technology. However, under the power of Su-bai's small universe, everything escapes. The power of the small universe spread, and in an instant, signs of large-scale clusters of life activities were sensed in the northwest direction. In the next instant, Su-bai appeared above the capital of Wakanda. On the desolate desert, a modern city was pulled up out of thin air. There were cars passing through the streets. Each car looked like a solar car from later generations. Su-bai even saw a car that could levitate in midair, travel quickly. You must know that most people in the world have never ridden in even the simplest car. Moreover, Su-bai instantly sensed a special energy scanning her whole body. When she first landed in London, Su-bai also had this feeling. Later, she found out that it was the magician from the holy place in London who used a large magic weapon. Monitor all of London. This feeling is different now. It should be that there is a set of high-tech monitoring equipment in this city. The entire city is in a special magnetic field, maintaining a harmonious balance. Once an outsider enters, there will be no intrusion without special equipment. It instantly breaks the balance of the magnetic field and attracts attention. Su-bai, who is aware of this, can definitely use the power of the small universe to hide it, but Su-bai feels that it is not necessary, because Su-bai's skin color is too conspicuous, and if you look around, everyone in Wakanda is a pure black man. Su-bai with yellow skin is easy to distinguish. The next second, a piercing siren sounded, and the entire capital was in a state of alarm. Very quickly, a group of police-like figures rushed out from a blue and white building. They were riding motorcycles similar to motorcycles that could float in the air. They held super-era firearms in their hands that could actually shoot light from them, ignored him, and was immediately attacked by Su-bai. Su-bai's identity was defined as an intruder the moment the alarm sounded. Has it reached the level of an energy weapon? Compared with the equipment of the soldiers in World War I, it can only be described as weak. However, the higher the technological level of Wakanda, the more abnormal Su-bai felt. This may have surpassed the technological level of other countries on the Earth for 100 years, and Wakanda is on the edge of the Sahara Desert. Apart from vibranium, there are no other precious resources at all. Even the development of agriculture has become difficult. How did Wakanda's high technology come about? Dozens of rays of light shot towards Su-bai. Su-bai just snapped his fingers, and an extremely powerful king's power spread out, easily crushing the atoms that made up the energy rays. Until this moment, the people of Wakanda who were still watching the excitement and pointing at Su-bai on the street realized that this intruder was not simple at all. Suddenly, various screams rang out, and pedestrians scattered in panic. This group of policemen were also a little panicked. After all, Su-bai was the first intruder in 50 years. They tried to run, but found that they could not move at all. Under the huge pressure released from Su-bai's body, it became extremely difficult for them to even stand up. Su-bai's voice spread throughout Wakanda. I want to see your king. After Su-bai finished speaking, he felt an object rushing towards him from behind. He did not appear in the air, he was completely invisible, and his speed was extremely fast. For ordinary people, this blow might be fatal. But he couldn't escape the feeling of Su-bai's small universe. As soon as he turned sideways, Su-bai punched out. The invisible man did not expect that Su-bai would react so sharply. He received Su-bai's punch forcefully, but he did not expect the huge power contained in it. After retreating for dozens of meters, he supported the ground with one hand and pulled out a ravine on the flat ground. Reveal your figure. Wearing an all-black battle armor, a bone necklace hung around his neck. There was light blue light shining through his eyes, like a cheetah, and his sharp claws shone coldly in the sunlight. It is none other than the King of Wakanda, Black Panther. Black Panther is the traditional name for Wakanda Asgardian. Almost of each generation of Black Panthers are members of the royal family. Each generation of Black Panther has to eat a heart-shaped herb to gain superhuman speed, strength, physical fitness, endurance and agility. Black Panther has a battle suit woven from vibranium. It is equipped with stealth technology that can evenly absorb kinetic energy and is indestructible. The soles of his boots have vibranium additional pads that can adjust different vibration frequencies, allowing him to silently walk around buildings, running sideways. If it weren't for this vibranium suit, Su-bai's casual punch could have made him disappear from the earth. The powerful impact force was evenly absorbed by vibranium during the explosion. After all, it is one of the most precious metals in the universe. It has a unique ability. Black Panther can easily grab it and leave claw marks on Captain America's shield, is a master of close combat. The siren sounded more urgent, and 10 teams of Royal Guards AJBG rushed out from the palace in the center of the capital. Their hands were full of high-tech equipment. Su-bai even heard the roar of fighter planes, which could be described as a complete siege. Black Panther stood up slowly, his voice very hoarse. No one is welcome to enter Wakanda. Intruder, before you die, you'd better explain. Before he finished speaking, Su-bai suddenly sneezed, and a powerful impact surged forward. In just an instant, all the guards flew upside down and fell to the ground, screaming in pain. There was only one Black Panther, still standing opposite Su-bai. Su-bai chuckled, "There's no need to be so nervous, we can have a good talk." This scene fell into Black Panther's eyes, and his pupils shrank. The strength Su-bai showed made him the most powerful intruder in history, definitely, for the people of Wakanda, all outsiders or invaders. Bye. At the moment, the communication equipment in the Black Panther suit was transmitting information crazily. As early as the moment Su-bai appeared, it had been captured by the monitoring equipment, modeled and analyzed, and all of Su-bai's data was collected. King, the invader's body density exceeds that of ordinary people, and his life response is very active. His powerful ability should come from the suit of armor on his body. In the monitoring room of the Intelligence Analysis Department, 12 screens played back at the same time, collecting every minute and second of Subai's appearance. People were busy. These scientific and technological scientists were trying to uncover Subai's secrets. His armor has the ability to float in the air, and should be equipped with a device to change gravity. After our soldiers got close, it became difficult to even straighten their bodies. It should be that the gravity field has changed. At the same time, he has an energy absorption device on his wrist, which allows him to attack the energy-absorbing gun. The armor on his body can also release a powerful impact, just like what was shown before, and repel all the guards. Military. Black Panther snorted and said impatiently, I just want to know how to defeat him. There was suddenly silence in the communication equipment for 2 seconds before the voice of the scientific researcher hesitation sounded. This is an unprecedentedly powerful intruder with a battle armor. As long as his battle armor is destroyed, we can win. Black Panther looked at Subai's relaxed posture and just wanted to slap these scientific researchers flat. How could he get close to Subai? Even with the vibranium suit, he was easily slapped away and came to the battlefield in person. Only then can you feel the terror of Subai. However, Black Panther did not feel too much hostility from Subai. His thoughts changed quickly, and the shrewdness of a king came to mind, and he said softly, indeed, we can have a good talk. If you don't act like a monster, destroy Wakanda's capital with your own hands, and we should be able to have a pleasant conversation. This Black Panther clearly understands that when it's time to be cowardly, you still have to be cowardly. At least he feels that Subai is difficult to deal with now, even impossible. Moreover, Subai has not yet expressed his intention, so there is still room for maneuver. Subai chuckled lightly, look at your high-tech city. It doesn't look like it belongs to this planet at all. I hope you can take me on a tour. Besides, I'm really not an intruder. I'm just here to seek help. Some vibranium. Vibranium. When this came out of Subai's mouth, Black Panther was shocked. Wakanda does possess a large amount of vibranium, but this is a secret that only members of the royal family of all generations know. Even some high-ranking officials in the government do not know that the real reason for Wakanda's rise is actually vibranium. Not only is Subai's origin mysterious, she actually knows the biggest secret that Wakanda has kept for generations. How could Black Panther not be surprised? Is there a traitor in Wakanda and someone leaked the news? The thoughts in Black Panther's mind were chaotic. After a while, Tuan asked cautiously, are you from Earth? Subai sneered in his heart, a light flashed in his eyes, and while nodding, he confirmed a guess in his heart. Wakanda's technological level is so advanced that it far exceeds the level of the Earth. The most likely possibility is that all of Wakanda's technology comes from aliens. Only aliens like the Asgardians can possess high-level technology. I am afraid that there is a trading relationship between Wakanda and an alien empire, using one of the most precious metals in the universe in exchange for a leapfrog development in technological level. In fact, Wakanda has become a colony of this alien empire. No wonder it has high-tech levels and has to be hidden in the long river of history. Subai gradually came to a conclusion in her heart, but she didn't try to expose it. She still looked at Black Panther, waiting for the king's reply. Black Panther's mind was also full of excitement. When Subai admitted that he was from Earth, he wanted to keep Subai forever. After all, this was a guy who knew the secret of vibranium. But the worry in Black Panther's heart is Subai's strength. Without knowing the limits of Subai's strength, if Subai is offended, it is likely to be a disaster. Should you endure and compromise, or should you look for another opportunity to strike? Black Panther made a difficult choice, to endure it for the time being. He pressed a button on his wrist, and the alarm state of the entire Wakanda was finally lifted. Some people hiding in the building poked their heads out and looked at Subai curiously. Most of them had never seen this in their lives. Having been in Wakanda, I have never seen a yellow-skinned human race, let alone a power that deviates from science. Wakanda does have the vibranium you need, but I don't want vibranium to cause a war. After Black Panther finished speaking meaningfully, he made a gesture of invitation. The guards who were knocked away stood up with difficulty and walked towards the palace. After entering the palace, Black Panther sat on the throne, and immediately a royal member came out, holding a white box in his hand. At Black Panther's signal, the white box opened, revealing a golden fist file-sized piece of metal lying inside. 100 years ago, by chance, the people of Wakanda discovered a crashed spaceship, which contained unbelievably magnificent technology. At the same time, there was this white box on the spaceship. This is the opportunity God gave Wakanda. The people of Wakanda began to study the technology on the spaceship, and they built such a great city. The metal in this white box was also translated by our scientists as vibranium, a metal with unknown efficacy. Black Panther talks freely on the throne, performs heartily, and has a sincere tone that is indeed contagious. Su-Bai's expression was dull, but he wanted to laugh in his heart. Su-Bai knew the origin of vibranium. Vibranium was transformed from a special meteorite, which was unique to Wakanda and had abundant reserves. The rhetoric of Black Panther can only deceive the ordinary people of Wakanda. I asked you if you were an alien because I suspect that you are related to the crashed spaceship. Wakanda can be returned to its original owner. But since you only want vibranium with unknown effects, it doesn't matter if you give it all to you. But I have to remind you that our scientists have been studying for decades and have not found a way to use vibranium. After Black Panther finished speaking, he asked someone to hand over the box containing vibranium to Su-Bai. The meaning was obvious. If you want it, fine, we will only have this little, and we will not have more. Black Panther has an inexplicable confidence in his heart. Even if Su-Bai knows that Wakanda has vibranium, he will never know everything. Su-Bai is a yellow-skinned Asian, not an omniscient and omnipotent god. What happened in Wakanda for thousands of years, the little secrets hidden in the dark corners, the information that only Decedent knows, will Su-Bai know? Impossible. No one can know. The history of Wakanda is written by Black Panther. Su-Bai is just an outsider and can only choose to accept it. A piece of vibranium can kill Su-Bai. But what Black Panther didn't expect was that Su-Bai was such a prophet, because he was once a reader and viewer on another Earth. All Black Panther's lies are just a joke in Su-Bai's mind. Black Panther's words are completely the words of a politician, and the lies in them made Su-Bai laugh. He thought that taking out a piece of cherished vibranium would be considered generous, but he didn't know that with Su-Bai's current strength, it would be considered generous to sit here and reason with him. It is no exaggeration to say that with Su-Bai's current strength, it will only take a blink of an eye to wipe out the entire Wakanda. No one in Wakanda can stop Su-Bai. Su-Bai originally prepared a large amount of currency and exchanged some magic items to the holy place in London to complete the transaction. Unexpectedly, the king of Wakanda was not as good as Su-Bai imagined. Respect and face are given to each other. Su-Bai couldn't help but secretly thought in his heart, if this is the case, then I will accept the entire country's vibranium. However, Su-Bai did not choose to take action at this time. Since he guessed that Wakanda might have a deal with aliens, Su-Bai had a plan in mind. Even the aliens behind Wakanda had to be caught in one fell swoop. With a chuckle, Su-Bai stood up from his seat. An extremely powerful pressure instantly enveloped the entire Wakanda. The current Black Panther sitting on the throne was at the center of the pressure, and his whole body bent down. Waist rolled to the ground. The battle armor composed of vibranium is indeed amazing in terms of physical defense capabilities, but it is slightly inferior to the power of the mysterious side. At this moment, Black Panther realized that the pressure released by Su-Bai was not a gravity adjustment device, but a gravity adjustment device. A mysterious force that directly affects the soul. The Black Panther was lying on the ground like a big black insect. His Majesty as a king was gone. He didn't even dare to breathe. He already regretted what he had done. Su-Bai's power was beyond their ability to guess. He complained to himself, how could he try to deceive a mythical figure? Su-Bai's voice was cold and chilling. I'll come back in a week. If you don't get the amount of vibranium that satisfies me, the entire Wakanda will be destroyed. This sentence spread throughout Wakanda, and it was a fear that penetrated deep into the soul. When the pressure disappeared, the body inside the Black Panther armor was already wet with sweat. He reluctantly stood up and exclaimed, "We have encountered an unstoppable enemy. Hurry up and contact the Kree." It turns out that Black Panther cherishes life more than Su-Bai imagined, and just as Su-Bai guessed, Wakanda has communication equipment to contact aliens. After waiting for 3 days above the Sahara Desert, a spaceship appeared in Su-Bai's small universe sensor. This spacecraft is 1,000 meters long and 100 meters wide, and is equipped with complete stealth technology. Naturally, ordinary people cannot see clearly when they look up. The spaceship arrived at dusk and docked at the edge of the Sahara Desert. The royal family members of Wakanda, headed by Black Panther, were already waiting carefully. The powerful airflow spread out, and the spacecraft docked steadily. With a click, 3 weirdos walked out first. These 3 weirdos are more than 2 meters tall, strong and all have blue skin. They need assistive equipment to breathe normally on Earth. When Subai saw these 3 weirdos, he thought to himself, it turns out they are Kree people. The Kree Empire is a super large empire in the Marvel Universe. The Kree people colonize and trade throughout the universe. The reason why Subai remembers it is because the final boss in Guardians of Galaxy, Ronan, who dances with Star-Lord, is a Kree. However, compared with the Ronan in the comics, the Ronan in the movie is basically a loser. When the 3 Kree people came out of the spaceship, the royal family of Wakanda immediately knelt down and worshipped. Then they stood up respectfully and told what Subai had done. The leading Kree man took a step forward, uttered a garbled language, and translated through the device on his jaw, "Where is the vibranium we want?" Black Panther was stunned for a moment. Unexpectedly, the Kree not only ignored his complaints, but also asked for vibranium as soon as he got off the spaceship. Although he was a little confused, he still said respectfully, "Wakanda has already prepared 5 pills of vibranium. I wonder what technology you are prepared to use in exchange, Your Excellency." Peel is the Kree's unit of measurement. A member of the royal family behind Black Panther pressed the device on his wrist, and 5 large golden boxes appeared in the air instantly. The leader of the Kree sneered and said loudly, 5 pills of vibranium are not enough. This time it is a super high-level technology that requires 20 pills. When Black Panther heard this, he was both excited and distressed. He gritted his teeth and decided to agree. "Dear sir, we have taken out all our reserves and just collected 20 peers, but please help us deal with the intruders." Quote. After saying that, Black Panther pressed the space storage device in his hand, and 15 more large golden boxes appeared in an instant. "Okay, take out another 20 pills of vibranium as money to buy your life." The faces of the 3 Kree people showed ferocious smiles at the same time. Black Panther was sweating on his forehead and felt that the atmosphere was a little strange. "Sir, all the vibranium mined in Wakanda are here. We have taken out other vibranium. Please give Wakanda a little more time." "Give you time? We don't have time." The Kree leader snorted coldly, and instantly pulled out the large energy gun from his waist. Before Black Panther could react, he instantly hit Black Panther's body. Before he could even scream, the armor slipped to the ground, and the human body inside it had disappeared without a trace. The Kree leader directly killed the Black Panther without any hesitation. The human body was completely destroyed and only a vibranium armor was left. Things changed so quickly. The other royal family members behind Black Panther looked dull. How could the Kree, who were originally reasonable and peaceful, become violent at this time? The person who is going to kill them is actually not Subai, but the Kree who are like the creator. These royal members couldn't believe it, but they still relied on instinct to draw out the energy weapons from their waists and fired at the 3 Kree people without hesitation. The energy rays all hit because their enemies didn't even bother to dodge. Obsolete junk technology. Amidst the jeers, light blue energy shields appeared on the waists of the 3 Kree people. While easily blocking the attack, they roared repeatedly. Within a moment, they used more advanced energy weapons to eliminate all members of the royal family. A group of wishful thinking bugs have taken away all the vibranium. This is our last time on Earth. The Kree leader snorted disdainfully and settled the battle. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, the tactical goggles covering his entire eyes suddenly issued an early warning. Anyone else, but the speed of the visitor was really too fast. How could he react when he was moving at almost the speed of light? It was not an energy attack, but a huge force produced purely by the body, which directly penetrated the energy shield and hit the Kree leader's abdomen. In the eyes of the other 2 Kree people with disbelief, the leader instantly transformed. For little blue-white particles, dissipated in the air. Enemy attack. After shouting at the device, the remaining 2 Krees let out crazy roars and fired energy weapons continuously, but Subai still couldn't waste too much time. With 2 simple punches, the 2 Kree people also disappeared into the air. At this time, the spacecraft closed its hatch and did not even bother to collect the vibranium left in the desert. The remaining Kree in the cockpit kept pressing buttons on the control console, trying to collect it in the shortest possible time. Fly out of the atmosphere, and then use space jump technology to leave the Earth. The spaceship pilot thought in a panic, as this guy from Asgard. As early as yesterday, before they reached the Earth, they received a communication from the Asgardians. The Asgardians have returned to the Earth, and other aliens want to enter the Earth. If they do not agree, it is an invasion and a declaration of war on the entire Aesir clan. The bravery and bellicosity of the Asgardians are quite prestigious throughout the universe, but the Kree Empire is huge. After careful consideration, the commander of this spaceship decided to drain Wakanda of its remaining value, and then, without any hesitation, destroy this alien colony. Unexpectedly, when things were going smoothly, Subai suddenly came out. The power of this spacecraft is so strong that it probably won't take 10 seconds to fly out of the atmosphere, but it's only a short distance into the air and it's hard to get even an inch. At the head of the spacecraft, Subai's figure appeared, holding the bow with one hand. No matter how powerful the power released by the energy engine was, it could not escape Subai's control. Crazy, completely crazy. The spaceship pilot looked at everything in front of him blankly. Even in the Kree Empire, there were very few people with such huge power. Why did such a existence appear in front of him? When he came back to his senses, he felt that he could not escape. The first thing he wanted to do was to send out the final communication. Before he even thought about it, he pressed the communication button, and the entire hull of the spacecraft began to tilt. Subai spun around with one hand and easily threw the spacecraft back to the ground. After the flying sand and dust, the spacecraft's engine stalled and the stealth device disappeared, revealing the huge hull. After landing, Subai easily opened the door of the spacecraft and entered the interior of spacecraft. He suddenly felt like he had won a big prize, resource collection ship. The interior of the spacecraft is divided into 3 areas. Subai's left side leads to the stern, where the spacecraft equipment is placed, and the right side is the spacecraft cockpit. The huge cabin under your feet is extremely neatly lined with shelves. The shelves are all filled with space storage devices similar to watches. They are clearly classified. Each shelf is written with Kree characters that Subai cannot read. This ship is exactly the ship that performs the collection mission. After Subai broke in, the red light flashed feebly in the spacecraft, and some energy weapons with warning functions and infrared rays tried to fight back against Subai, but were destroyed by Subai immediately. A warehouse full of cosmic resources is truly a gift. Subai chuckled lightly, walked to the cab, opened the cockpit door, and found that the remaining pilot had lost his life breath. He was very decisive and chose to commit suicide. Subai's long-term plan to catch big fish was successful. Not only did he obtain a boatload of resources, he also plundered all the vibranium currently in Wakanda. After putting away all the classified storage devices, Subai glanced at the Kree spaceship, and then used Phoenix wings to fly without hesitation. In the huge amounts of impact, the entire spacecraft was annihilated at an extremely fast speed, and then dissipated invisible. Even smartphones can have positioning functions. Who knows what weird things are on this high-tech spaceship? Subai tested the intelligence system of the spacecraft and found that it actually requires the active DNA of the Kree people. No wonder in the end at that moment, the driver would choose to commit suicide. It turned out that he was afraid of being taken advantage of by Subai. After packing everything up, Subai's figure turned into a red line again and disappeared over the Sahara Desert. Under the dusk, only the Black Panther suit silently told the story of what happened. When Subai appeared, he had already arrived at the entrance of Holy Place in London and directly found the magician Merlin. "Why, have you encountered any problems with space magic? Do you want to help me solve them?" Merlin is still very happy about Subai's arrival. He has not given up his will to transform Subai into a magician. After the incident of Caecilius, Dormammu may invade at any time, so the great magician will be honest. Located in Holy Place, London, Subai read through Merlin's magic code, and indeed encountered some problems. After asking some questions, he changed the topic and said, "Is there any information or records about the Kree people in the Holy Place in London?" Merlin was indeed a great magician, and he reacted instantly, "You are not fighting against the Kree, are you?" Indeed, since the Kree Empire became the 5 major empires in the universe, it has become a little unscrupulous. Let me guess, is it in Wakanda? Su-Bai chuckled lightly and said, oh. It turns out that the Magician Association knows these things. I thought Holy Place's eyes and ears hadn't spread to Africa. Wakanda is rich in vibranium, a rare metal that the Magician Association originally studied. There was also a conflict with the Kree Empire because of vibranium. A look of memory appeared on Merlin's face, and he said slowly, it was probably 300 years ago, or 200 years ago, I can't remember clearly. At that time, the Kree Empire came in pursuit of vibranium and landed in Wakanda. It was judged to be an alien invasion by the magician at Holy Place. After the magician repelled the first batch of Kree, they attracted the Kree Archon. The Kree began to explore the universe 3 million years ago, and their technology has developed to an unbelievable level, and their Archon, it is the crystallization of their scientific and technological wisdom. Speaking of this, Su-Bai saw a glimmer of uneasiness in Merlin's eyes this time. The Kree governors were extremely powerful, and only the Sorcerer Supreme could resist them. At that time, the Kree people had a population of more than 30 billion, and they had jurisdiction over there are thousands of planets and countless colonies below. Even if the Sorcerer Supreme resists the Archons, it cannot stop the huge Kree fleet. In the end, the Magician Association was forced to sign an agreement with the Kree, allowing the Kree to mine vibranium in Wakanda, and Wakanda also fell into the arms of the Kree. Unknowingly, it became a colony like ringworm. Even the Sorcerer Supreme was helpless. Su-Bai was a little surprised. Does the Magician Association not care about vibranium that much? That is something that even the Kree Empire hopes to get. Merlin smiled and shook his head. The physical properties of vibranium are indeed well known throughout the universe, but it does not have a good protective effect against magician attacks, especially spiritual attacks. In the past, magicians did after research. Vibranium can indeed be used to enhance magic, but such use will cause vibranium to become extremely unstable and become an endless mana black hole, absorbing all the magician's mana. Therefore, vibranium is not of much use value to the magicians. It's just that the existence of Wakanda makes the Magician Association look bad, so no one has ever mentioned it. Merlin said, as if he thought of something. He touched the bookshelf behind him and asked again and again, what, you met the Kree in Wakanda? Didn't the Asgard people already issue an announcement? Any aliens in the future will being able to enter the Earth at will is considered an invasion. Su-Bai pouted, Nuo Li Jiao, they destroyed a Kree spaceship. They wanted to make one last profit before destroying Wakanda, but they gave me an advantage. You're causing trouble for the Asgardians. Merlin laughed, but he was not nervous at all. He finally found a note in an ancient book, handed it to Su-Bai, and said at the same time, in fact, the Kree people's demand for vibranium has increased over the years. The smaller they were, when they first came to mine, they were escorted by a large fleet, which was very grand, but they quickly found a replacement. The substitute that Merlin mentioned was the small piece of paper he handed to Su-Bai. Su-Bai took a look at it and raised an eyebrow. Is this the synthesis formula? What Su-Bai got was naturally not the synthesis formula of vibranium. This metal, which is known to have extremely high density, can hardly be synthesized. What is recorded on the note is the synthesis formula of Edmund alloy. Edmund alloy is a man-made alloy based on steel and mixed with vibranium and other high-hardness materials. It has extremely high strength and is nearly indestructible. There are also many types of Edmund alloys. On Merlin's little note, there are 13 mixing methods including primary Edmund alloy, secondary Edmund alloy, and mass-produced Edmund alloy. First-level Edmund alloy is also called elementary-level Edmund alloy. There is a note on the note that only those with divine power and the Superman type with the ability to control metal can control and destroy it. Wolverine in later generations, the body is this kind of metal that's poured into it. Both secondary and mass production are simplified versions of the first-grade Edmund alloy, which is easier to produce and match the basic production type to the extent that almost does not require vibranium. But there is no synthesis method like the original Edmund alloy. After reading it, Su-Bai sighed in his heart. Original Edmund alloy, also known as sound-absorbing steel, is used to make Captain America's shield. It is rumored that there is only one piece in the entire universe. It is the most difficult to destroy among all the substances in existence. The piece of Captain America was also obtained by coincidence. The total ratio of vibranium to Edmond alloy is almost 1 to 6. A piece of vibranium can synthesize 6 times the Edmond alloy. Su Bai couldn't help but ask in his mind, Wheel of Time, can the golden saint cloth be made of Edmond alloy? Adamantium has greater piercing power and is suitable for making weapons, while vibranium is more suitable for defense because it can withstand almost endless impacts. But the final point is that compared to Edmond alloy, vibranium has extremely excellent energy-absorbing properties. The golden saint cloth made of Edmond alloy does not have the effect of absorbing light energy to provide combat effectiveness, nor does it have the effect of enhancing the small universe. Even the original Edmond alloy is the same. And the golden saint cloth made of vibranium is genuine. The golden holy garment. Master, please use your own discretion. The vibranium collected by Su Bai from Wakanda is enough to make 2 golden holy clothes. The reason why I ask this is that Edmond alloy can really replace vibranium, then Su Bai can mass produce the golden holy clothes. The answer is negative. I felt a little pity in my heart. Because of the discovery of Edmond alloy, vibranium is no longer so important to the Kree Empire. The Kree Empire's spaceship entering the Earth after the declaration is already considered an invasion. Merlin's voice brought Su Bai's thoughts back and forth, and continued, besides, the Kree Empire will never be willing to deal with the Asgardians and the Sorcerer Supreme at the same time. There is nothing wrong with you destroying the Kree's spaceship. It seems that the return of the Asgardians has brought many changes to the Earth. Su Bai sighed in her heart, ahad, and then thought about going to Asgard soon and gaining the respect of the Asgard people. Suddenly she felt that it was not that simple. However, Su Bai felt a little curious, what are the 5 empires in the universe? Merlin seemed to be very satisfied with Su Bai's condition. A truly strong man cannot stay on Earth forever. This is why Merlin likes to travel among the stars. He said slowly. The Kree Empire, the Skrull Empire, the Sheer Empire, Mechanical Cyber, and New Gods. Among them, the Kree Empire is the newest empire. The New Gods are the most powerful, almost reaching the peak of the technological side and the mysterious side. The death of each new god will cause turmoil in the entire universe. Su Bai clicked his tongue. Apart from the Kree Empire, he had never heard of the other empires. Judging from Merlin's frightened state, the new gods he spoke of were beyond imagination. Under the 5 great empires, there are powerful gods like Asgard. One day, you will see them. Merlin also looked yearning. The infinite and vast universe is indeed worth exploring. After talking for a while, Su Bai asked again, are there any books in alien languages at the holy place in London? About the Krees and others, the more the better. The spacecraft supplies captured by Su Bai are all labeled with Kree writings. This is the first batch of space supplies captured by Su Bai. Naturally, he cannot give up easily and needs to find out carefully. Merlin was very generous and personally found a copy of the Encyclopedia of Universal Language for Su Bai. However, this time, Merlin played a little trick. This Encyclopedia of Universal Language must use magician's special text to be read. Take this opportunity to learn the magician's special words so that you can learn spells better. It seems that this gray-haired old man has never given up his dream of turning Su Bai into a magician. Su Bai didn't want to live up to his kindness, so after bringing the 2 classics back, after some study, he found that the value of these materials was far beyond imagination. Among the materials seized by Su Bai, the most abundant one is an energy ore called star crystal, which is a common currency throughout the galaxy because of its extremely wide range of uses. Star crystals take up about half of all storage equipment and weigh about 10,000 tons. This batch of star crystals alone is a valuable asset. It seems that this resource collection ship shuttled through the colonies of the Kree Empire, constantly collecting resources, and at the same time trading at the trading stations in the universe. It accumulated so much star crystal. And there is a lot of silver star sand in this material. Originally, Su Bai planned to go to Asgard and collect silver star sand. Unexpectedly, it took no effort to obtain it. The quantity was enough for Su Bai to make 2 holy clothes. The only material currently lacking to make the golden saint cloth is Garmanion, and Sif has admitted that there is this alchemical material in the Asgard people's treasury and is willing to provide some to Su Bai. The situation is optimistic, and Su Bai has a new plan in mind. After promoting the phoenix seat to the golden saint cloth, I can also make a golden saint cloth. Which one should I make? Definitely, this is a plan only if there is enough gamanine. In addition, there were thousands of types of ores in the supplies. Su-bai could only hand over the names based on the labels and was not sure of their utility. However, what surprised Su-bai was that all the minerals needed to make Edmund alloy were also everything is ready. In the next week, in addition to studying the language of the universe and learning the secrets of space magic, Su-bai was trying to refine Edmund alloy. Even with the matching formula, Su-bai only successfully smelted a ball of Edmund alloy after 5 experiments. During this period, Diana also sent back a message, saying that she would stay on Paradise Island for a few more days, and had convinced the tribe that she would bring a group of Amazons into the secular world. But before Diana came back, Su-bai's fulfilling study life was suddenly interrupted. On a rainy night, Su-bai had already entered the practice of the small universe but was disturbed by an unexpected visitor. Logan. When Su-bai appeared in front of the castle, he found that the person who broke into Su-bai's perception was Logan, who was covered in scars. Even though he had strong healing ability, the injuries on his back were still deeply visible. In Logan's arms, there was also a woman wearing a white gauze skirt. Her abdomen was wrapped with a bandage, and she could still see scarlet oozing out. Her expression was painful, and her face was pale. The raindrops fell and soaked Logan's hair. It was not even possible to tell whether he was crying or not. He just had a look of sadness on his face and suppressed rage in his heart. When he saw Su-bai, he said sadly, "Su-bai, save me. Save her, I can only think of you, save her." Su-bai took Logan and the woman into the castle and learned their story. With Su-bai's guidance, Logan realized that there were more mutants in the world and he was not a lonely monster. He resigned from his position in the military and began to search for mutants throughout Europe. Due to his keen senses, he did meet some novel mutants, some of which were very friendly to him, like the woman in his arms, Silverfox. Some are extremely rage, trying to kill similar people who suddenly appear and become the most powerful mutants, just like Sabretooth. Logan fell in love with Silverfox, fought with Sabretooth, and experienced the joys, sorrows, and joys of the world in a not too short period of time. Just tonight, Logan's birthday, Sabretooth suddenly attacked and killed Silverfox. The two had just confirmed their relationship. Logan fought with Sabretooth, who suddenly attacked. Logan, who had lost his mind, was no match for Sabretooth. He could only lie on the ground and watch Sabretooth leave with satisfaction. At this moment, Logan resented himself extremely. Why are you so weak? Why can't you even defeat a Sabretooth? After recovering a little, the first thing Logan did was to pick up Silverfox and run from Berkeley, England to London overnight. He knew that Su-bai lived in Leeds Castle. He learned this information from a mutant. The microcosm does have the ability to heal, but the microcosm in the later stages of the sixth sense will never be able to bring a dead man back to life. Looking at the cold body of Silverfox, Su-bai could only sigh in her heart, "She is dead, and there is nothing I can do." Su-bai felt that perhaps Logan, with his keen senses, had already known that Silverfox was dead, but he was unwilling to believe this fact and wanted to avoid reality. When Su-bai said these words, Logan's remaining illusions and hopes were shattered, and his whole body was shaking. After a roar, his eyes turned red, and his bone claws stabbed out, just wanting to destroy everything in front of him. Even destroy this world. He needs to vent, he needs to kill, destroy, and vent the anger and despair in his heart. Su-bai had no choice but to use the powerful small universe to suppress Logan to the ground. Even so, Logan's bone claws continued to poke out, and even used his teeth, making a mess of the blue marble. Being suppressed by Su-bai, the wolf's howl still sounded throughout the night. The next day, the gloomy sky was still drizzled, and Logan buried Silverfox under a maple tree. In front of the small hillock, Logan, who had regained his senses, put away his sadness and had a determined look on his face, with hatred and anger flashing in his eyes. "I'm no match for him." Logan clenched his fists angrily and looked at Su-bai, who was standing on one side, "But you said that mutants' ability can be improved through development." At the moment, Logan realized why he ran madly to Su-bai's location after his defeat. "Are you hoping that Su-bai can save Silverfox?" In fact, during the fierce battle with Sabretooth, Logan already knew that Silverfox was dead. Logan recalled Su-bai because Su-bai was the strongest person he had ever seen. It was because Subai told him about the existence of mutant, which made him no longer numb and gave him a new meaning to live. It's because Logan feels that Subai can definitely help him become stronger. I don't ask you to kill Sabretooth, I want to know him personally and tear him into pieces. I just ask you to tell me how to become stronger and develop my ability so that I can kill Sabretooth. Logan's words were slow but firm. He absolutely could not tolerate Sabretooth still living freely in the world. As long as you can help me kill Sabretooth, I am willing to work as a cow and a horse for you. Subai sighed in his heart. He was actually reluctant to say that method, but after looking at Logan, Subai couldn't find a reason to reject Logan. Subai saw the desire to become stronger at all costs. The two returned to the castle. Subai took Logan directly to the usual smelting basement, took out a shaped piece of first-grade Edmund metal, and said, "Try it and leave traces on this piece of metal." When Logan heard this, although he didn't understand what Subai meant, he still stretched out his bone claw and swung it violently. Sang I sang, sounded twice, and sparks flew everywhere. Even if Logan tried his best, he could not make the Edmund alloy change at all, let alone leave white marks. In Logan's puzzled eyes, Subai explained softly, "This metal is called Edmund alloy. It is indestructible, never wears out, and is almost indestructible. At the same time, it also has strong penetrating power. Piercing the thickness of the door panel is as easy as breaking through paper soaked in water. He can make you invincible." Subai's tone was very serious, and he said solemnly, "Logan, as long as you can withstand the pain of being poured by metal, I am willing to build you a pair of bone claws made of Edmund alloy to defeat all evil people who stand in the way. They will all be torn apart by you. As long as you can bear it." Logan looked at the Edmund alloy in Subai's hand, as if this strange piece of metal had infinite magic power. He was fascinated by it. Suddenly, he shrugged his shoulders and said with a smile, "This little bit of pain is nothing like the pain I had before. Compared to what you endure, what is it? Edmund alloy is indestructible and never wears out. Why only use it on the claws and integrate it into my bones and blood so that I will never be defeated again? Compared with the feeling of failure, loss, and being insulted, this little bit of pain feels sweet." Logan patted Subai on the shoulder and said firmly, "Subai, you don't have to pity me, and you don't have to leave any room. You know how to use Edmund metal on me to achieve the greatest effect. You are the only friend left, please help me." At this moment, Subai began to lament the magic of fate. She did not expect that Wolverine Logan was about to be born after all, and it was born from her own hands. Not only was the time advanced, but Logan actually voluntarily accepted such a transformation plan. Subai had to remind Logan, Edmund metal is definitely very powerful, but it also has shortcomings. In this world, there are mutants who manipulate metals. When Edmund metal becomes your skeleton, you also think that that mutant who manipulates metal has become your natural enemy. You will always live in his shadow. The mutant Subai is talking about is naturally the famous Magneto. The Edmund metal gave Logan super combat power, and also made Magneto in an invincible position when dealing with Logan, almost beating him every time. Logan nodded without too much hesitation or even thinking. "I just want to put this dark cloud in front of me away from my world first. Everything in the future is far less important than now. I just want revenge." "As you wish." Understanding Logan's will at this moment, Subai stopped persuading and began to synthesize a large amount of first-level Edmund alloy, also known as true Edmund alloy. The process of melting the bones lasted for a long time. 3 days later, Logan, who was wrapped in bandages, finally opened his eyes and heard Subai's voice. "From today on, you have a new title, Wolverine." With a crack sound, Japan's double metal claws stabbed out. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.